happy souls, welcome back to my channel. This is Charlotte with Happy Twins 1111, and today we are asking, what is manifesting for you right now? And I think this will be a really helpful reading because we are always manifesting, even if we're not doing it consciously or intentionally. Every step we take, every decision we make is adding up to cook our tomorrow. Our beliefs, the way we feel about things, what we're focusing our thoughts on, it all adds up to an ingredient in the bowl that is baking our tomorrow. And so the benefit of looking at what the current trajectory looks like is that we can see if we're manifesting what we actually want or not. And there is still time to adjust course. There's still time to add new ingredients into the bowl. So all you need to do is choose a pile. There are 3 today. In pile number 1, we've got the owl with the Dalmatian jasper. And for this pile, we will be using the oak ash thorn tarot. For pile number 2, we've got the eagle with moss agate. And for this pile, we're using the guardian of the night tarot. And in pile number 3, the red fox with red tiger's eye. And for this pile, we are using Madame Clara's 5-cent tarot. So take your time choosing, pause the video and douse over it if that feels good to you. See which crystal you're drawn to. There's no right or wrong way to pick. You may be drawn to more than one pile. That just means there's messages in more than one pile for you. The timestamps will take you straight to the pile you've chosen, and I will see you there. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. You have chosen the owl, the Dalmatian jasper, it might be leopard jasper, I forget which it is, and the oak ash thorn tarot. Today we are asking, what is manifesting for you right now? That's why we've got the shooting star. It's all about making wishes. And the benefit of looking at what's cooking, at what's coming next, is that we can see if it's desirable or not. You know, every day in every way, we are co-creating the next step of our lives. We're literally pre-writing the chapter by way of the decisions we're making, the communication that we choose, and, you know, every step in a new direction, not to mention the free will decisions and choices of the other people around us in any given situation. So we do have a degree of power to co-create what comes next. And the benefit of looking at what's cooking, what's manifesting, is that if it's not desirable, we have time to adjust it and cook something better. It's also, of course, very reassuring and exciting to know that what we have been working towards is, you know, moving along the intended trajectory. So let's see what's coming through for you. What's manifesting right now for you, pile 1. Now, whilst I'm shuffling, this is a really good chance for you to take a nice long deep breath and set the intention that you are ready and willing to receive the messages you need the most. You can hit the like button right now because that really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe and tap the little notification bell. So let's do this. You can also ask the universe for a sign. A sign is, it's just a way for the universe to let you know that you are seen and you are heard, to offer you that faith and validation. And it can be anything at all. There's no right or wrong. It could be an animal or something from nature. It could be an object or a place or a sequence of numbers. Just trust whatever pops into your head first and pay special attention to the messages that show up alongside your sign. Now, we're going to be using the tarot, we're going to be using the oracle cards, and we will be using the charm bowl today. There will also be an extended reading for those of you that want to follow up with that. If this video resonates, you can always find the link to the extended in the description box below. And finally, don't forget to make a note in the comments of which pile you have watched today. Because you're only watching a fraction of the video today, i.e. one pile, YouTube will recommend this video to you again, usually in perfect divine timing. I love how that works. If you've made a note of the pile you've already watched, it will be much easier for you to not choose the same one again. Okay, pile 1. I'm going to draw some cards first to help us understand the circumstances around what's manifesting for you. What is manifesting for you right now, pile 1? Right, first card out. We have got the 10 of Cups in reverse, the 7 of Pentacles. Let's move them up. I think we'll put them there actually because we've got more room. That's Strength in reverse. The Knight of Swords. And Temperance. And we're going to clarify these. So clarifying the Ten of Cups in reverse. We've got the Nine of Pentacles. Clarifying the Seven of Pentacles. We've got the Seven of Swords, 2 sevens. Clarifying Strength in reverse. We've got the 10 of Wands in reverse. Is that the 10 or the 2? It's the 10. Clarifying the Knight of Swords. We've got the 8 of Wands. And clarifying Temperance. We've got the Hierophant in reverse. Okay. All right, let's draw some oracle cards as well. I am going to start with these ones. This is the Messages from Your Animal Spirit Guides Oracle. We've got Condor. We've got Humpback Whale. Oh, I love whales so much. Let's get a third one. And we have Peacock. Lots of birds for you today. And from this deck, this is the Healers of the Earth Oracle. We've got Withdrawal Symptoms. The Cabal. And from the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck. I don't get paid to show you these decks. I wish I did, but I'm just showing it because a lot of people ask what deck it is and it helps you find it more easily. We've got Stargazer, Set Your Sights Higher. And Druid, Hold the Space. Okay, so we are going to get more cards as we move forward, but let's work with what's on the table for now. And we're going to start with the Owl. And the title on this card is See the Truth. And I really think this is about kind of tearing your blindfold off, pile one, helping you recognize, you know, what you're actually creating, sometimes without realizing it. I believe this pertains to a divorce or a pending divorce. You haven't actually divorced yet. I'm hearing you made the decision a really, really long time ago, but this has been such slow moving energy. You may still be living with your ex. You may still be sharing space or work or something with them, but you're still in very close proximity to them. And it's a constant toing and froing of trying to move things forward, but constantly taking 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. The Nine of Pentacles in reverse shows us that there are financial concerns that are keeping you in that spot. But what we're seeing moving forward is slow but steady progress. The Seven of Pentacles is frustration and it's impatience. It's that feeling of digging into hard ground and not really making any progress. It's clarified by the Seven of Swords. And what I'm hearing is that your ex is quite sneaky. And indeed, we have that Cabal card here, which is schemes, conspiracies, intelligentsia. You know, I really think that your person knows how to push your buttons and pull on your heartstrings. They know how to soften you and how to kind of wheedle their way back in. And so you have been kind of toing and froing, trying to make your mind up. Should I stay? Should I go? All the while, whilst you're sharing time and space with them, they're making it incredibly difficult for you to actually make that final step. And I feel like the legalities of this situation have stalled. Now, when it comes to what it's shifting towards to, we do see that this will close out. And so the universe just wants to reassure you that you have to stay the course and you have to keep sticking with the decision. I'm hearing one of the challenges for you is that because you do chop and change your mind so frequently, the universe doesn't know if it's coming or going. You've got to bear in mind that we manifest from the point of intention, the point of feeling and the point of truth that's within us. That's why it's asking you to see the truth. So if you're not really focused on the same thing consistently and you're up and down like a yo-yo, so too will be the outcome of whatever, you know, is being co-created by that indecisiveness. Your person definitely can't be trusted. You know that. There's a strong energy of narcissism here. I want to say that they betrayed you in the most heinous ways. And yet you have such a long history with them that it's very hard to detach your heart from that process of leaving, I guess. There's just so much intimacy between you. And you can't help but recognize that soft, younger, gentle person that you originally married or connected with. And, you know, this connection has somehow morphed into something so toxic in which you were unsupported. You know, you weren't valued in the way that you deserve to be. And I want to say, for those of you that have a family, and, you know, the way this card is illustrated certainly suggests that's probably most of you, you know, you were kind of left to be the parent. I just feel like your person kind of moved in and out doing what they want under the guise of, I don't know, doing important work, providing in other ways, all the while kind of saddled you with a whole load of responsibility and discomfort. And that betrayal's insidious because it was again and again and again. And I'm hearing that even when, you know, you begged them for authenticity, for honesty, they kind of trickled the truth to you. They didn't allow you to really ever know the full story. And you found so many holes and discrepancies in their story that it was often a real struggle to just figure out what was true and what wasn't. You know, sometimes it felt like they were revealing something meaningful and important about the past, when in actual fact, it just kind of chopped and changed a story that was already confusing you. We've got the Knight of Swords here, and I do think that you're being cautioned against impulsive communication because we don't want this to be cooking. The Knight of Swords, clarified by the Eight of Wands, is swift, impulsive, often quite cutting, ill thought out communication. This is not what you want amidst a divorce case, neither legally or emotionally. You know, it's not good for either of you. But I am feeling that you are literally at the end of your tether. You're really struggling. You loved your person so much. And, you know, it's often the case that we don't leave relationships because we're no longer in love. We leave to support our own well-being, and because to stay would be an act of self-betrayal. And I think that's what makes this so tough for you. You know, you still love this person very deeply, but you're also so very angry with them, and also aware that you do deserve so much better, and that this person has demonstrated without reasonable doubt that they cannot meet you on that bridge of peace, equanimity and respect. We do see this being brought to balance, and I love that Temperance here is illustrated by a single swan. When we see a swan on its own, we actually refer to it as a demi-swan. That's because swans are kind of meant to be together. But you can see that this one is kind of leaning into itself. It has those two cups there, which are symbolic of love and the balance of duality and the masculine, feminine within. And this is a card of balance. In fact, 1 and 4, it adds up to 5, which is also clarifying here with the Hierophant, so it's Taurus energy. But with Temperance, which I believe is actually Aquarius, or is that a star? I forget. 1 and 4 is the Magician and the Emperor. So this is all about having the power to manifest stability and to manifest more control and security in your life. Yes, the water's stormy, but you can see that it softens up here, and that this swan is at the shoreline where it's still grounded in the earth. Everything is going to be okay. When we see the Hierophant in reverse, it does suggest an end of marriage as well. The Hierophant in the upright position can often mean a union or contractual coming together in marriage. And so when it's in reverse, it can of course mean the opposite. But I really think as well that just because this relationship is closing out doesn't necessarily mean the lessons that you were learning through this karmic interaction are closing out. There is still stuff to be learned. And I don't think that you can expect that your person is going to be on the same page. And I think that's what drives you the most crazy, because you have worked so hard to try and get them to see how destructive their behaviors are. You've worked so hard to try and get them to understand what it is that you need to continue this relationship. And I do think that they want it to continue. Hold on, I need to take my jumper off. I don't know if it's like a menopausal hot flush, but I feel like I'm burning up. Drop me a hell yeah in the comments if you too have these dreaded hot flushes. Okay, that's better. Whew, I can breathe again. Right, so where were we? So, you know, you've been trying to explain to this person how they were hurtful. And now I feel the frustration is palpable, because I honestly feel like they're saying to you, yes, I understand. Yes, you're so right. I shouldn't have done that. And next time I'm not going to, and I'm going to do this. They're so full of promises, but they overpromise and underdeliver every time. You're being asked to recognize that this person cannot change their spot. So remembering we had the leopard jasper there, or the Dalmatian jasper, whichever one it is. You know, they don't know how to shift in the ways you want them to. And I'm hearing it's not even that they don't want to, they just don't know how. Every time they are smashing up against a barrier of their own limitations. And this person is, I want to say, very wounded and, you know, not really in possession of a great deal of self-awareness. And so they gaslight you too. They will often minimize your concerns. And I feel that some of them were so gross and, you know, such a significant betrayal that it was very difficult for them to do that, but they still tried. You know, they had to concede in the end. Yeah, okay, I shouldn't have done that. But it really does feel like it's a kind of, they're saying it because they know they've got nowhere else to hide with it. You know, they're saying it because they've run out of excuses, and you backed them into a corner with your testament that no, this is what you've done, this is why it's wrong, and it's not okay. You know, they couldn't really move forward with you or resolve things unless they were going to take ownership of that. And yet I feel that the amount of ownership they've taken is actually pretty poor, because they backtrack every time. So what we're seeing here is definitely that this divorce is progressing. We see that that family unit is coming to its natural close based on its current setup. And that is so painful for you as well. If you have children involved, regardless of their age, it's very, very difficult, you know, to break down a family. And as a parent, it can make you feel like the most selfish person on the planet. So I'm guided to remind you, a happy parent is the best parent. And your kids may not understand now, but later down the line, they are going to reflect on how much more comfortable and happy you were able to be as a result of that separation. And perhaps one day you can explain to them why. You know, you are leading by example. You're showing your children that it's not okay to stay in relationships in which you're disrespected and betrayed. And that's a very important lesson, as painful as it is. I do feel that you're concerned about finances, that you're worried how you're going to manage without that secondary income. You don't need to worry about that. I'm hearing that the stars are literally aligning for you to make sure that you have everything you need to move forward with as much dignity as possible. So, you know, it is going to be okay. But again, we do see harsh words here. You know, we see a lack of strength of heart and a lot of, what's that energy? It's like resisting the burden of it. And so I do think your person is going to try and wriggle out of this to the very bitter end. You are literally going to have to drag them into the court with those lawyers kicking and screaming, because they will keep pushing back. If you give an inch, they will take a mile. You have to make a decision now. And, you know, I feel that it's already made. It's just seeing it through that is so uncomfortable and so hard, because this person really knows how to lay the guilt trip on you. And when they soften, you know, when they seem to be all lovey-dovey and, oh, I really want to make this better, I really want to love you forever, I want to grow old with you, and they tug at your heartstrings, you kind of almost go right back to go again, and start again being indecisive and wondering if you can actually make this work. So, you know, when strength is in reverse, it shows us out of control ego. The fact that it's 10 of Wands in reverse, clarifying, is someone that refuses to take responsibility for that ego, refuses to take responsibility for their actions. And I think this is one of the other challenges for you, you know, that they often make you out to be the baddie, well, you're the baddie, you're the one that's leaving, you're the one that's destroying our family, you're the one, you know, that won't make this work. You've done everything you can. You're okay to draw a line under really awful behavior, which is what you have been subjected to for the longest time. You don't owe this person any more excuses or explanations. You don't need to defend yourself. You know, you need to set a boundary now. And definitely, because I feel the communication can quickly become hostile, because this person does know how to trigger you, and there is more of that coming, and it comes in fast and unexpectedly. You know, that's what the Eight of Wands is talking about. And you can see here, you know, that they're all these butterflies, which are symbolic of change. The intention of this communication is for you to change your mind. And so the more difficult they make it, the more challenging they make it, the more ashamed and guilty they help you feel, you know, the more inclined you are to start backtracking on your original decision. And because you've let that boundary collapse so many times, they really think they have a good shot at it happening again. And, you know, they'd be forgiven for thinking that because you've let the boundary down. So, you know, the universe is now saying, listen, stuff's getting serious. We want to manifest this beautiful outcome for you. We want you to be able to close this chapter, start again. We promise you all the abundance and stability you need. You know, it's going to be slow and frustrating, but the time is now. You know, we've got your back. You will find that balance and peace again, but you need to actually stick with that decision, draw the line in the sand and keep moving forward. Withdrawal symptoms, yearning, craving, pain over loss. And I think this is also what keeps you stuck, you know, and look at her looking at the butterfly. Can this change? Can I transform this? Am I being too hasty? Like I said, it's very painful to leave someone that you still love. And we don't leave people we love, you know, for any other reason that they're actually making us miserable, that the love they are offering us or providing for us just isn't aligned with what we deserve or with our value. I know I keep moving the cards around. They just look back that way to me. I can't help it. I know it's saying, oh, okay. So set your sights higher. You know, your guides are reminding you that there is so much potential in your future. You don't have to hang around here picking up this person's breadcrumbs and tolerating their BS. You know, this is about holding space for yourself, holding space for your family and the people that are also wounded by this chain of events. But more than anything, I feel that the universe is holding space for you. They're reminding you that you can look to the stars and trust. I love that this is stargazer when we've got that shooting star there. It's reminding you to keep wishing for more. Now, one of the challenges of leaving a relationship is that we had pinned our entire future on that relationship working out. So whatever future you've been envisaging, when a relationship comes to an end, it's almost like the rug is pulled out from under you and you no longer know what the future holds. You don't have plans anymore. You don't know what direction you're moving in. It's incredibly destabilizing. And so the universe is reminding you that you get to choose. You know, keep your chin up to the sun and the stars and keep wishing. Remember, in the tarot, after the tower, which is everything collapsing, comes the star, the wishing card. It reminds us that when everything's gone, we have an opportunity to start with a clean slate and build in a much more meaningful and sustainable way. And this is what you are being asked to do. Condor says, you're too enmeshed in this situation. Step back and see the bigger picture before making any decisions or taking action. And I'm hearing that in relation to this, the enmeshment is financial. You know, this person has made you feel so financially insecure that you started to question if you can actually afford to leave them. You can and you will. You need to step back because they're filling your head with all of these fears and ideas. And perhaps they always dealt with the finances and these things sometimes kind of confuse you. But you're not to trust them. Seek independent financial advice because this person's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Humpback Whale says music is essential to your healing and well-being, whether singing, playing an instrument or listening. And I want to remind you as well that whale has the biggest heart in the whole animal kingdom. It's a powerful symbol of love and connection. And of course, they communicate through these sound vibrations and this beautiful music that they make. I really think music is significant to you, even if it's just that the lyrics and the relatability of that helps you know yourself or triggers those emotions to rise to the surface where they can be released. But I do think there's something about your own voice being used, perhaps in chanting or, you know, really humming those sacred sounds and vibrations. Let yourself stand out and be noticed. You know, the peacock is encouraging you to recognize your value, to show this person exactly what they're missing. I know it's a bit bitter to do that, but it's such a classic breakup thing, isn't it? I did the same. When my ex left me, I went and lost like probably 40 pounds, got a personal trainer, looked $1 million. There's no better revenge, and you feel great. So you mustn't be ashamed of feeling that way. Our self-esteem is on the floor after a breakup. When you've been betrayed and you've been hurt and you've been neglected and you have been abused, you know, the self-loathing you feel is palpable, not to mention the fact that this person is guilt-tripping you to hell and back, you know. So whatever you need to do right now to restore, you know, a healthy ego, to strengthen your ego, to feel good about yourself again, and also to stick the middle finger up at them and say, do you know what, you were wrong about me, look at what you're missing. It's an incredibly cathartic course of action. Of course we shouldn't care what they think, of course it should be about us, but you know, in a world where vengefulness and bitterness and resentment is going to hurt us, expressing it in such passive and healing ways is okay. You know, we're allowed to do that. I know what you really want to do is go and spray paint horrible words onto their car, or God, heaven forbid, what you would like to do. I know we all think about it, right? And what is it they say? Hell hath no fury like a person scorned. So, you know, we don't have to scorn anyone, but you're being reminded that you need to build yourself back up. And if they're going to see that and be triggered by it and maybe feel a bit of regret, well, that's just a happy bonus, isn't it? It's no less than they deserve. But for you, you know, you need to stand up and be noticed for who you are. You have so much to offer and so much going for you. You are such a beautiful soul with a pure heart. And just because this person couldn't honor and respect that doesn't mean no one else will. All right, so let's get some more. What else is manifesting for you, pile one? Okay, we've got the King of Swords in reverse. We've got the Ace of Cups in reverse. We've got the Page of Pentacles in reverse. And we've got the Four of Cups in reverse. And then we have the Eight of Swords in reverse. Now, don't worry about the reversals. Remember, the benefit of looking at what's cooking is there is time to make adjustments. Okay, clarifying the King of Swords in reverse. That's the Fool in reverse. Clarifying the Ace of Cups in reverse is the Five of Cups in reverse. Clarifying the Page of Pentacles in reverse is the Four of Wands. So the only upright card in this row, that's very significant. Clarifying the Four of Cups in reverse is the High Priestess. And clarifying the Eight of Swords in reverse is the Wheel of Fortune. Three big upright cards there, very significant energies. And let's get some more oracle cards. I'm going to use these. This is the Magical Herb Oracle. Not used this one for ages, it's such a cute deck. Guidance, it's number 24, and this is Sage. I bet you use sage, you clear with it, right? Creativity, number 14, and Ginger. And expansion, number 20, ephedra or ephedra. I'm not sure how you say that one. What are we getting next? Okay, this is the Literary Witches Oracle. We've got chicken. And we have Lantern. And we're going to get some more of these Healers Earth cards. Healers of the Earth even. Sacred Smoke, which is exactly what sage is for, right? That's what we were talking about. And Fruitful Labours. And I'm going to put 2 more of these over here on the other side. We've got Processing Energies. And Solar Power. This card keeps coming out for me as well. There's 70 odd cards in this deck, and that one comes out again and again. I always love when that happens. Okay. So, remember what I said. When we see that the trajectory or future timeline is undesirable, we have time to adjust our sails. If you want this to go smoothly, you're going to have to, you know, add some new ingredients to the bowl. When the King of Swords is in reverse, clarified the Fool in reverse. Remember we had that Knight of Swords in reverse? That energy of harsh, impulsive communication. Well, the King of Swords in reverse is that on acid. And here it has the potential to block that new beginning. And so you want to be really careful about who and how you are communicating. You know, now is the time for discretion. Now is the time to be super mindful of communicating from a place of peace and equanimity and not deliberately rocking the boat or sticking the knife in. You know, when the King of Swords is in reverse, this indicates someone important, someone with clout, someone with power or skill. You know, it's a mature energy, a powerful energy, it's a leadership energy. And the fact that this is really stunting that new beginning is definitely cause for concern. So again, communication is key. You're being challenged to communicate from a point of authenticity and integrity, even if your person can't. You know, this is about you and how you hold yourself. I know we can feel so justified when someone's being an absolute little bitch. You know, we just want to lose our shit and go crazy at it, right? And we feel justified in that anger and that expression of fury because they've provoked us, or their behavior is ill-dignified. Don't stoop to their level. It's a trap. That's exactly what they want. Remember that a war right now is only going to slow things down, and it is going to cost you time. And time is the only thing that money cannot buy you back. Enough is enough. You have been in this separation period and stuck in this painful limbo state for far too long. We are also seeing a desperate need to come towards yourself. When the Ace of Cups is in reverse as the future trajectory, this suggests that there isn't enough self-love to fill your cup. It suggests a period of time in which you feel desperately lonely and unable to care for yourself in a meaningful and necessary way. I want to remind you that these energies are on the table. That means if we turn them to the upright position, they are flowing in the way they are meant to. And then we have a very different story. The King of Swords is in the upright position is the King of Truth and peace and clarity. The Fool is that new beginning in the upright position. And the Ace of Cups in the upright position is an abundant, self-fulfilling flow of love. It's clarified by the Four of Cups in reverse. And the Four of Cups in reverse is about being so focused on what's spilt, so focused on the chaos, that you don't see the opportunities available to you. Now, in the traditional Four of Cups, in the upright position, what we see is someone so focused on 3 cups on the ground that have been spilled that they don't see this beautiful single cup emerging out of the sky as a gift from spirit. Remember, the single cup is symbolic of love. They don't see that love is there for them because they're so focused on the love that was lost. And so the fact that these 2 cards have come up together is really important, because when we turn them into the upright position, as I said, that's a very different story. You know, we have that Ace of Cups, that's self-love, overflowing, self-fulfilling. And we have the Four of Cups, which is the processing of that grief. Now, the 5 showed up. Where is it? These are really hard to read upside down. They've got such fine print on them. I beg your pardon, that's the Four of Cups, and this is the 5. So the 5 of Cups is here. I beg your pardon. So 5 of Cups is processing grief. And in the 5 of Cups, all the cups are spilt. And in the distance, there's a bridge, and over the bridge there's this beautiful castle, and the person is so focused on their spilt cups that they don't necessarily see that easy route to get to that dream castle. And so again, these two in reverse indicate that without giving yourself that love, affection and care that you need, you won't be able to process, transform and learn through that grief cycle. Yes, it's going to hurt. Listen, relationships ending is messy and painful whether you chose it or not. It doesn't matter even if you're absolutely certain it's the right thing, it is still so painful. It's hard, especially if you've been with that person a long time, because you know there's attachments that form that are way more significant than just the love or the feelings that are in your present. The bonds that form over long relationships really burn when they're torn and parted, but you need to process that grief. You can only do that if you're facing yourself, having a relationship with yourself. And you know, a lot of people say, well, what do you mean having a relationship with myself? That sounds really silly. But it's not silly. You know, if you were living with someone you loved, that was going through these exact circumstances, when they came home at the end of the day, you would be ready to hold space for them, right? You'd be like, how was your day? How are you feeling? You'd be anticipating their grief, their stress, their pain, their tension. You'd be ready to hold their hand and listen, and you'd be ready to offer them guidance if they needed it. You'd be ready to give them a friendly hug and reassure them that everything was going to be okay, because that's what loving is. That's what caring for someone is. This is something we have to do for ourselves as well. So many of us neglect to actually have those conversations with us. How do I feel about today? You know, and actually just give ourselves space to cry, to release, to process. It's so, so important that you have your own back through this. You know, at the moment you are heading down a trajectory in which you are so busy, so blindsided by the sheer amount of stuff that is changing, and so caught up in and enmeshed in the chaos of it, that you're not taking care of yourself, you're not holding space for yourself, and you're not making time for yourself in a meaningful way. When the Page of Pentacles comes up in reverse, clarified by the Four of Wands right front and center, and I wanted to sort of say all this bit first because this is really exciting. This downloaded as soon as I turned the cards over. There is someone else, someone from your childhood, someone from way back that you haven't seen since you were a kid. The Four of Wands is a union energy. It's the energy of celebration, of coming together, of reconnecting, the energy of fulfillment. And, you know, I really think that there's someone in your background that, you know, maybe your parents knew their parents, or maybe you went to the same school. The Page of Pentacles suggests you were connected through your material world. So that's work, school, family, all that kind of jazz. You haven't seen them for a long time. Maybe you actually know instinctively who they are. Regardless, you have to trust that there is a beautiful, happy future for you. It may not come to pass immediately, but it is coming. It's definitely coming. The Four of Cups in reverse we already touched upon when we thought it was over here. Remember, you have to look at what's spilt. You have to give yourself, in order to process grief, we have to actually give ourselves permission to observe what's grieving, or what's creating the grief rather. You know, this is clarified by the High Priestess, and I feel like you're really being pulled back into your spiritual path, which I'm hearing you've neglected for some time because of the carnage that's unfolding around you. You know, it's from that point of spiritual alignment that you worked hard at for a period of time that you are able to start processing and observing the truth of this connection, of seeing it for what it is. See the truth. You know, the High Priestess is drawing on the emotional, intuitive aspects of self. She knows what is necessary to be able to reprogram and heal. But you can't access that inner wisdom unless you give yourself permission to tune into it. And you've been so busy, you've been so focused on keeping busy because, hey, that feels quite cathartic, right? But being too busy is a trauma response, and it's not a healthy one. It's an avoidance of self. Imagine if, again, someone you love, they come home from work and they're completely traumatized, and you say, oh, you're traumatized, I'm just going to avoid you. I don't want to talk to you today. Let's not talk about it. Let's not focus on it. I'm going to distract you and talk 10 to the dozen about everything and nothing at all. But we're not going to talk about what's burning or what's hurting. you'd feel so invalidated. You'd think, how insensitive is this person that they can just disregard, you know, my feelings, just pretend it's not happening. There's a part of you that intuitively knows that's not healthy, and yet you do it to yourself day after day after day. You have to bring it back. You've got to step into that healing potential that you've worked so hard to nurture within yourself. You also need to let go of limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs about this person, limiting beliefs. Again, this is about seeing the truth. It's not just limiting beliefs about who they are, it's limiting beliefs about who they could be, and limiting beliefs about how your life will pan out without them in it. And I'm hearing that they have filled your head with a lot of these. And the thing is, you're not even recognizing them as limiting beliefs because the Eight of Swords is in the reverse. In the upright position, the Eight of Swords is entrapment of the mind. It's that feeling that I'm trapped, I can't get out, there's nowhere to go, even though that's just something we tell ourselves. For example, you know, thinking you're trapped could be, I can't leave my partner because they need me. They're going through something and they need me right now. So the perception is that you're trapped, but in reality, you're not. You know, you're creating that barrier for yourself because you're putting someone else's comfort above your own. So that's what limiting beliefs are. The belief that you are somehow limited because of something that isn't even real. It's a what if, or it's a seed that someone else has planted in you, probably your ex. The Wheel of Fortune is such a beautiful card. It reminds you that everything is completed. You know, so you're going to get there in the end regardless. The difficulty is that it could be slowed down again. Remember, we had that energy of impatience and frustration as well, and that someone could keep sticking the knife in and causing even more delays. I want to turn all of these cards upright and just show you, when you stand in awareness of who you are, when you choose radical self-reflection, when you choose strength of heart, when you lean into your inner power, your inner optimism and faith, which you have, you know, you know how to glow with it. It's one of the reasons your person was so jealous of you. They may not have ever said they were jealous of you, but this is why they treated you like dirt, because they saw how wonderful you were and that triggered them. And people like that who are insecure, they thrive by keeping others down. You know, in their mind, you glowing was not a threat to them if they were able to dim the light. And look, we have lantern over here. We'll read that in a minute. But look at the storyline here. Look at what's manifesting when you unblock all of those things that you are refusing to acknowledge and take care of. You still have this authoritative figure, but now they are communicating from a place of clarity and truth and integrity. And that's what allows a new beginning to come into being. You have the Ace of Cups, this abundant flow of self-love that allows you to process any and all grief that is going to not only help you grow, but also support your soul's learning potential and evolution. You've got someone new arriving from the past. You don't need to do anything about that. They've been watching you for a long time. They've been observing you. And my gut feeling is that they were devastated when you married this other person. You were the one that got away. They've been looking at this situation for a long time and wondering when you would make that move, because they instinctively knew you were unhappy, and they certainly knew that you deserve better. The Four of Cups, again, is about processing that grief, finding that balance and security. You know, fours are always about stability. This is clarified by the High Priestess. This is about going in and look, unlike the traditional card, this squirrel is not looking at the four spilt cups. They have their eyes closed. This person is going in, and all of those cups are surrounded by butterflies, symbols of change. There's a little tiny ladybird there. I hope you can see it right there. You know, this is someone that is processing that pain, not through the avoidance of it or the trauma response of keeping busy, but through their intuitive connection to their own inner wisdom and potential to heal. The Eight of Swords is about standing in awareness of all the ways in which you've tricked yourself and kept yourself trapped by laboring under the what ifs and the fears and the insecurities that your ex planted. And when you stand in awareness and start to see the truth, you have completion. And look, we see the owl again. You know, all those little bunnies, there's a snake there, there's a spider, there's this little tiny mice dangling down. snails, there's some mushrooms down there. This is such a beautiful detailed image. And so webs are symbolic of weaving a new beginning. The Wheel of Fortune, of course, being a number 10, is about the energy of completion. But we don't know when the wheel spins, even though it's auspicious and it's lucky, we don't know where it's going to land. And, you know, bearing in mind that the High Priestess precedes this, in reality, that's what's so beautiful about being alive. You know, if we could just go to the library and buy the book of our lives, we wouldn't ever get excited about anything ever again. You know, we're not meant to know everything. Sometimes it's good to know what the next step is. Sometimes it's good to know what's cooking. But the universe isn't saying, you know, it's all going to work out like this. The universe is saying it is going to be okay and that it's time for that new beginning. Now, chicken. I can't help thinking of chicken in terms of, you know, being a bit of a pussy. I don't know if they say that in America or wherever it is you are in the world. In England, when we say, oh, you're such a chicken, we mean you're not brave enough or you don't have enough courage. You know, you're going to be chicken about it. I don't know why, because chickens are actually very bold. If you met my chickens, you definitely wouldn't associate that word with a lack of courage. But mine are quite bolshy. They attack my dog all the time. But, you know, I really feel as well that chicken is symbolic of fertility. It's symbolic of those new beginnings in the way that they lay eggs. And also in their habit. You know, they are such habitual creatures, chickens. They rise and go to bed at the same time. They dust bathe and rest in the same places. You know, once they know where home is, they don't go outside the boundaries of it. They're generally very habitual creatures. And I really feel that this is about, you know, not just being habitual about your strength of heart and guarding yourself against backing out because you're afraid, but also about recognizing those daily practices that are going to help you stay grounded in the present and are going to help you feel secure. I'm really fascinated that the lantern came out over the druid because there's something so hermity about this energy, especially the way the crystal at the end of his staff grows. And I'm actually going to set you some homework, pile one, because I feel so guided to really show you this stuff. This is just a stick with a crystal and some fur and leather and feathers on the end. Go and make yourself one of these. I call them grounding staff. So I'm in the middle of looking for the right stick for my own. So when we're walking, the reason we have a staff is because it grounds us. We're making that connection to the earth. Modern shoes, you know, they're rubber. They don't allow the earth's charge to penetrate and reach our body. So a grounding staff that you can use when you're pottering in the garden, or if you go out walking and don't mind looking like a weirdo like me, you know, you can take it with you. But this is a beautiful thing to focus your attention on. It's doing something for yourself. It's allowing yourself to get excited about the materials that you're going to use, to ask the universe to send you those feathers to help you find that perfect stick and crystal, and to spend time creating it is going to allow you to be in the flow. You need to illuminate your light as bright as it's going to go. You need to lean in to that spiritual presence that you know how to access. You know, you've got so tangled up in this that you've stepped away from it. Keep clearing, keep using that sage, sacred smoke, clearing the air, purging negativity and prayer. You know, this is asking you to come back to that conscious awareness of your power to co-create in meaningful ways, your power to adjust the sails and to bring in the winds of change, to allow yourself to finally close this cycle out and have that new beginning that you so very much deserve. Fruitful labors, growth, birth, manifestation, and a harvest. That is such a reassuring energy for you, pile one. It's number 11, the number of awakening. You can't be tricked anymore. We've got processing energies, an adjustment period, and a settling of energies. And this is the 2 5s. We've had quite a few 5s for you. Remember, 5s are about higher learning. They're about change. And we have to move through that uncomfortable 5 energy, that transformative energy, to get to the other side, which is 6, the energy of love. You've got to trust that after a period of upheaval, after processing, it's going to settle down very quickly and everything is working out for you. We've got solar power. vitality, warmth and energy. This is also masculine energy. We've got the number 4 with the Emperor power there, and that infinity number 8, that cycle of learning and new beginnings. Solar power and sun energy is also about illuminating our truth. And I really feel that, you know, you need to make sure you balance any spiritual practice with that drawing in or calling in or invoking of the elements and the elemental energies. Expansion, number 20. This is judgment in the tarot. This is about rising up and awakening again. Ephedra. I'm not familiar with that herb. I don't even recognize it from the picture, if I'm honest. But I would certainly suggest that if you can get access to these herbs and spices, that it would help you to place them on your altar. Maybe make a little posy out of them, you know, and focus your intentions on them in some kind of ritual. Creativity. You know, again, that comes back to making that staff, or make a broom or a wand or a dream catcher, whatever feels good to you. This is about using elemental tools and items, you know, to create something magical for yourself, something that's going to help you get in the flow, that's going to help you do something for you. It's an act of self-love, not just through the fact that you're actually creating a gift for yourself, but because the act of doing it is in itself healing. When we are being creative and artistic and we're leaning into our divine inspiration, we are truly connected to our soul. You know, creativity, that flow that moves through us, is soulful. It's spiritual, it's beautiful. Guidance, sage, 2 and 4. So the high priestess and the emperor. Now see how many 4s that have come through for you. Remember, 4 is the number of stability. It's about taking control of your own world and your own reality. You are ready to step into your power, part 1. Right, let's get some charms as well for what's coming next before we go. I'm going to move this over to the extended because I want to get some more details, not just more about what's next, but more about how you got here and what else you're not seeing that's blocking you. Okay, I think we've given these a good mix. I'm going to reach into the middle. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We have got Freddie Mercury. Yes, Queen. We have got the Game Boy. We have got Wizard in Training. You are a little witch or wizard in training. I feel it. This is why the broom, the staff, the wand, all these earthy energies that come through for you. You know, a witch is essentially the Western version of indigenous magic. Just like the shaman is the South American version of indigenous magical practice. The same as druids. You know, it's just the European version of it. I'm a stupid baby. And everything will be okay. I love that last one. That is so reassuring for you. And let's get 2 final cards from the Angels and Ancestors deck. I'm asking that these are cards you can meditate on. So I'm going to bring them up close so you can screenshot them. Peacekeeper. Let go of the need to be right. You don't need to convince your person anymore that you're doing the right thing. Remember, no more need to explain, justify or excuse. Boundary sounds like, this is my decision. It's not open for discussion. It's that simple. You know, you don't need to say anything more than that. The time to discuss our relationship has long passed. The decision is made. It's no longer open for discussion. You know, you don't need to engage in conflict. You don't need to prove that you're right. You know, you just need to let go. And Bison energy. And I'm also noticing she is also holding a staff. If that isn't a sync, I don't know what is. Protection Guardian, drop your shields. Notice she's still holding it. But it's about remembering as well that, you know, defenses need to be flexible because they're there to protect you. But when we're feeling insecure, sometimes we create barriers, not boundaries. I do think that protection-wise, you need to focus on that grounding and protection. Maybe you can make a shield or a dream catcher as well to aid in that, or even a beautiful crystal grid. I'm noticing as well how that peacock energy is showing up here around this halo of light around her. That leaning into your own power and really reinforcing your own sense of self. Freddie Mercury. I never know how to read this one, but I think it's fair to say that yes, you are a queen, and this person really hasn't treated you as such. Perhaps there's also some healing or, you know, something relatable about the music of Queen or the story of Freddie Mercury. I just feel like there's something healing and uplifting available to you through that energy. Your person's going to keep playing games. It's who they are. Don't be fooled. When you think, oh, do you know what, they're being quite nice, it's because they've got something up their sleeve. You know, I want to be honest with you and say that I went through a similar situation to this, but it took me 7 years to reconcile the truth of who my ex was. And during that time, they shat on me again and again and again. And the reason they were able to do that was because I wasn't accepting that this is who they were. I couldn't reconcile that someone could be that dark, that unpleasant, that hateful, to deliberately do these things. But some people are. Some people are deliberate assholes, and there's nothing we can do about it. I know you don't want to believe that of them because you do see that there is good in them, but you have to accept that what they are expressing of themselves is who they are right now. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Stop trying to make excuses for it. Lean back into your witchy or wizardy or magical practice. Lean back into your spiritual flow and stop beating yourself up. You are navigating probably one of the most stressful circumstances that you will ever face. It's normal to feel vulnerable, to feel lost, to feel like you want to be rescued. But you know who's going to rescue you, pile one? You are. You're going to rescue yourself from this shit situation and this horrible relationship that has really not served you for the longest time. It's time to close the door. All the cards are moving you in the right direction. The universe is saying it's ready to manifest this now. But are you ready to stay the course? Because if you want to keep changing your mind, the universe will put their foot on the brakes. You know, you are the creator. So you have to make that decision. Keep the peace, stay protected, and be well, pile one. I really hoped this helped. As I said, we're going to take it over to the extended. If this has resonated, you can find the link for that down below. But thank you so much for joining me here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and smash the notifications button while you do that. Actually, you don't need to smash it. That doesn't matter. You can just tap it. And thank you for all your beautiful comments and your likes. And a special thanks to those of you that took the time to watch the commercials today. That really makes the biggest difference to my channel, and I appreciate it so much. Don't forget to check out my website where you can book services, readings and classes with me at happysouls1111.com. Thank you for being here. I will see you next time. Lots of love, pile one. Bye. Hello, pile two. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Fox, the Red Tiger's Eye, and the Guardian of the Night Tarot. And today we're asking, what is manifesting for you right now? And I think this will be a really helpful reading because, you know what, we're always manifesting. Whether we realise it or not, we're always baking our tomorrow. We're always cooking what's coming next. We are co-creators of our own reality. And I say co-creators because other people's free will decisions, of course, have an impact, and the way we cross paths with those matters. But what we are thinking and feeling and believing, consciously or otherwise, is what's manifesting our tomorrow. So, you know, this is a really helpful reading in that respect because we get to see if the upcoming trajectory serves us, if it's what we want, if it's aligned with what we really want, or if it's a manifestation of our fears or insecurities. And by looking at it now, we have time to adjust our sails, to adjust course. So let's see what's coming up for you, pile two. Now, whilst I'm shuffling, it's a really good time to just take a deep breath and set your intentions for the reading. And you can also ask the universe for a sign. And that can be anything at all. It could be an animal, it could be a series of numbers, it could be a place or a space, something from nature, an object. There really is no right or wrong. Just trust whatever pops into your head. And that just gives the universe an opportunity to, I guess, show you that you are seen and heard. Pay attention to the messages that show up alongside your sign. We're going to be using the oracle cards and the charm bowl today. And of course, there will be an extended reading. You can always find a link for that down below if this one resonates. Thank you for hitting the like button and for watching the commercials as well. That matters now more than ever because, you know, we're in a cost of living crisis. I think all of us readers have noticed that not as many people are booking or buying extendeds or, you know, joining our other services. And so we rely very much on the YouTube income to keep the energy moving. So every time you hit that like button or subscribe, it means our video will be promoted a bit more. And every little helps. I'm very grateful to you all for being here. Welcome if you're a new subscriber. And thank you for your support. But let's do this. Let's get your reading going. What is manifesting, part 2? Let's see. So the first card out is the Queen of Swords. Owl energy. We've got the 4 of Pentacles in reverse. We've got the 10 of Swords. We've got the Queen of Wands in reverse. So you've got lion energy there, fox, we've got bird, I think that's a starling, owl, rabbits there too. Oh, hedgehogs, 4 of Swords. So you've got 2 4s and 2 queens, which is interesting because queens are feminine energy, of course. I mean, obviously they're not gender in terms of an energy, but 4s are the masculine energy. And they're also about stability and control and dominion. So it'd be interesting to see what's flowing here for you. Right, Queen of Swords is clarified by the 9 of Wands with porcupine and fox. Lots of foxes coming through for you today, and that's the one you chose. 4 of Pentacles in reverse, clarified by the 10 of Cups. I'm going to bring that up close because there's so many different animals there. Got butterfly, owl again, bat. That's another bird of prey, wolf, stag, deer, more wolf, magpies, raccoons, rabbit, hare and fox. 10 of Cups is a lovely energy as the second 10. 10 of Swords is clarified by the 4 of Cups, the third 4. Queen of Wands in reverse, clarified by the Chariot in reverse. And the 4 of Swords, clarified by the 3 of Cups in reverse. And you have badger, raccoon and armadillo there. Okay, let's get some oracle cards. We're going to start with this deck. This is the messages from your animal spirit guides. Gorilla. And mountain goat. And from angels and ascended masters. And let me show you the box. That's this deck. Warrior. And shapeshifter. And from, let's go with this one, Healers of the Earth Oracle. Oh, and don't forget to make a note in the comments of what pile you've watched today, because YouTube will recommend this video to you again because you're not watching all of it, usually in perfect divine timing when you need it most. If you've made a note of the pile you've watched, you'll know not to watch it again next time. Help you choose another. Okay, moon magic and a pole shift. Okay, let's do this part 2. We're going to get more as we go with the oracle cards and charms, but we'll start where we are. Queen of Swords clarified by the 9 of Wands. So the Queen of Swords is all about clarity, truth, communicating from a point of fairness, justice and integrity. We can see here that it's illustrated as an owl, which is also symbolic of wisdom, but we're talking about intellectual wisdom. We're talking about the power of the mind. And you can see that the owl has a very broad perspective. It's up there in the ether. It's looking down on this forest of trees. So there's a benefit to having a wide perspective. And I really feel like your perspective and understanding of self and others and the life ahead of you is expanding in quite an exponential way. The 9 of Wands is also about persistence. This is us seeing you get in a sudden burst of energy, divine inspiration and drive to really charge forward. Even though you're exhausted and you're tired and things have been tough, this is about now closing out all those cycles because you're trusting, you are leaning into the truth that everything is happening for you. There's a really palpable energy of surrender that's flowing through this. I feel like you have been hard at it for some time, and the progress has been slow and arduous, and it's caused you to sometimes feel like those setbacks are kind of derailing you, or you're not trying hard enough, or you're simply not where you want to be. But you're understanding now that that was just you beating yourself up, being way too hard on yourself, and also experiencing and feeling the frustration of being on this kind of mad spiritual journey in which you are constantly trying to lean more deeply into a truth which is very much masked by the healing of the ego and shadow aspects sometimes. And that's the same for all of us. And this has been a time of observation. The fox energy that you chose, observe in silence. I remember fox is also about strategy. We call it a sly fox for a reason, because a fox knows when to strike. It's very considered and measured in its movements, and especially when it's hunting prey, i.e. going after what it wants. So when its prey drive kicks in, its impulses are so controlled. It's deeply tuned in to all of its senses and abilities to observe the situation. And that's why a fox, they're so sly and sneaky, because they will watch their prey for days to look for vulnerable or weak spots for access, and when the right time to attack is. They won't just dive in there head first without thinking about it. So I really think this is the universe reassuring you that during this time, whilst you felt you've been unproductive, everything's going too slow, and it's felt like you're dragging your sorry ass through mud. That was a bit harsh. I don't want to say your sorry ass. That's how you felt rather than me calling you that. I'm so sorry. I don't know why that tickled me so much. But I know it's felt really tough going, and you feel like you've just not been moving at a good enough pace. But you have kind of kept going, and nothing has been in vain. It definitely feels like now that truth, which had previously was trickling through and kind of giving you these moments of enlightenment here and there, is now kind of crashing in with some force, and everything is landing ready to be grounded. I'm literally seeing this owl come into land, grounding that wisdom, that download flowing in a meaningful way. And that 9 of Wands, look, the fox actually shows up again there in the background. Now, this is interesting because this is a very different card to the traditional 9 of Wands, and I think we need to pay attention to it. Porcupine has this built-in protection, right? It's able to literally use its own extremities to attack something. And I do believe there's some kind of poison at the end of a porcupine's pine. Is that what it's called? Or spike. And you can see that this fox, it's not running towards the porcupine, it's carefully observing the spikes or pines or whatever they're called. And so this observe in silence without taking action, without reacting impulsively, I want to say that energy landed with you a long time. And because you've got so much Aries energy here, I don't know why, but I feel a lot of Aries. I know Aries technically is in goat, that's Capricorn, but again, that's what that card gave off. And we do see Aries come through here with Queen of Wands. And 9 of Wands, I think, also has the Aries vibe because it's fire signs, right? So you are normally very impulsive. You are normally get up and go, I need to do it now. And you're all about, taking those steps as swiftly as you can. You are by nature impatient. So this observation, this having to take your time, the cloud which is marring your ability to understand with absolute clarity what's required of you, all of the frustration at having to follow this process, but that energy of let's just slow down and observe kind of hit you like a ton of bricks ages ago. And it's been percolating, it's been brewing. It's almost like the universe kind of strapped you up to slow you down and said, right, we're going to limit how quickly you move because you've got to take this bit slowly or you'll miss the important details. And so I think the first thing is that you are going to enjoy those restraints being lifted somewhat because you've done as much observation as you needed to do at this time, that wisdom downloading, as we said, and then being really aware of what the risks are. You would have run straight into that porcupine and got kind of shot up all over the place and would be writhing in agony now if your guys hadn't placed those restraints on you. And so what we're actually seeing is that you are now tentatively able to move forward in a very strategic and considered way. You are letting go of what was in the past. And I want to say here, there's something very idealistic and fantastical about what it is that you're letting go of. It's definitely a relationship or a connection that you had idealized and fantasized about. And in your mind, there was an energy of, oh, what's the word? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's really annoying me. Why can't I think of it? Inevitable. There was an energy of inevitability about this connection, and that's what kept you kind of hanging in there so long. And I feel like it was a divine connection. It was a soulmate of some kind, but you kind of hung around even when that person they weren't even leaving crumbs for you to follow, right? There was definitely not a distinctive trail, and yet you couldn't quite let it go. Definitely there was a spiritual reason that you were forward facing it, because there was stuff that you needed to learn and process from that. But having released it, having allowed it to kind of merge into your background and become still part of who you are, but something, you don't go out into the world every day thinking, I've got size 5 feet. You've just got size 5 feet. It's not something you need to think about. And this is kind of the same. They are still part of you. They're still in the background of your life, but they're no longer at the forefront. You don't need to walk around thinking about them all day. You don't need to be entirely focused on what they're doing, when they're going to communicate. There's definitely a release. And in that surrender and a release, you have opened yourself up to love. I believe this has been brewing for some time, because the 10 of Cups is a mature and loving energy, but this is union energy. A relationship that you've perhaps been lightly treading with is suddenly going to get a bit more serious. So I think someone you've been dating or communicating with, it's been slowly warming up. I'm hearing it may have felt like a long time coming, but you know how to tread now. And this is what we mean about this observing and slowing down energy. If this person had have showed up before you had kind of moved that person into the background and moved through this period of what seemed like painful slowness, but in fact was acting for you, you would have messed this up. You'd have gone in there with a hungry heart and all that anxious attachment, and you would have simply transferred the obsession you had for this other person to this new connection. As it is, you've been able to move really slowly through this, and that's why it's gone the distance. That's why it's really heating up now. And this is really beautiful, because you're closing out that pain cycle and you're learning to trust. And what I absolutely love about this 4 of Cups, right? In the traditional 4 of Cups, we see a person leaning against the tree, and they are so focused on the 3 cups in front of them that are often spilt that they don't realize that the universe is offering up this beautiful cup of self-love. But look, in this card, it's the opposite. In this card, the armadillo, which, by the way, is also very protected, like the porcupine, is literally turning its back on the 3 cups, which is much lighter hearted, stuff out, it's external stuff, right? Stuff outside of us, focused on that single cup, focused on self-love. So, I just want to say to you, Pile 2, you have worked hard for this. I know it's felt hard going. I know it's like 7 of Pentacles energy, right? Which is digging into hard ground, knowing you have to dig the hole, but god damn it, it's so rock hard and it's such hard work. It's the card of frustration and impatience. You have been in that for such a long time. I bet it comes up later in the reading. But you've been in this 7 of Pentacles energy where you know you need to plant those seeds, but damn it, it's so hard. And your frustration is like palpable. I can feel it. The irritation in you, because you're normally so fast and fiery and you want to rush forward. But it's been so worth it. You have managed to literally be reborn. You have parented yourself through one of the hardest periods of your life. You've come out of it with this robust, firm protection, these natural defenses and healthy boundaries, and you are focused on self-care. And this is what is allowing you to embrace a healthy relationship and to move into that relationship in a healthy way, not rushing in and idealizing it and fantasizing and getting too carried away. You've had time to restrain yourself, tame yourself, regulate yourself emotionally, and I really think that you are now seeing the benefits of it, because 10 of Swords is the end of that pain point. It's like we are done with that. We are ready to wrap that up. I love this energy. However, you are being cautioned. We have got some reversals here which are of concern. We've got that Three of Cups in reverse, which we saw over here. And we've also got the Queen of Wands and the Chariot in reverse. This is Aries, Pisces and Cancer energy. So a lot of water, which is emotional flow, but also a lot of fire. And fire and water isn't always the best mix. As you know, it creates steam, and steam can burn, it can be unpredictable, and well, it's only useful in certain situations. It's certainly very cleansing and purifying, but you know, sometimes it gets too hot to handle. And so water on its own, you know, we know how to handle water. Fire on its own is crazy and has the potential to be really destructive or give us the light we need. But when you combine them, you have something completely different, and in itself not always something that you want around you all the time. You can cope with regular dose of water or fire, but steam all the time is going to start creating problems. So even looking at the energy of these cards, we can see how things are going to go awry unless you get a handle on this. The Queen of Wands in reverse is the part of you that wants to be in control. It's the part of you that remembers how to play the game when it comes to romance. The part of you that wants to play it cool, that wants to pretend you don't care because you're too cool for that. You know, it's the part of you that does all of these things from a point of insecurity, because being in control and not wearing our heart on our sleeves or putting all our cards on the table helps us feel more protected and safe. And it's clarified by the Chariot in reverse. That is a clear message from the universe that say, hey, this is not the way you are meant to be doing things. Okay? No one wants to be the Queen of Wands in reverse. She is a saucy minx. She really is. She's very seductive. She's very powerful because she is the Queen of Fire. But when she is in reverse, she is ill-dignified. She is not her truest self. She's the distorted shadow version of self. And you can see here it's represented by a lioness. So it's the inner beast. You know, this connects back to that strength energy of Leo, where we're learning to tame the inner beast and embody our strength of heart. And this little raven or crow down here, which has this wand, is offering this wand. Remember, ravens and crows are messengers as well, magical messengers. And yet, look at that. I'm just noticing that the she lion, she's not even looking at it. She's like, whatever, bitch, you're irrelevant. I'm looking over here, I'm tracking my prey. Remember, that's exactly what you're not meant to be doing. You're meant to be observing very carefully and calmly and not taking any sudden action. And we can see that this Queen of Wands is so wrapped up in her ego, in the distortions of her mind, that she isn't paying attention to the intuitive and spiritual messages that are trying to nudge her in the right direction. And so there is some new healing required. It's just different healing from what went before, because you know, this is about slipping back into old patterns. And so I want to remind you that healing isn't linear. It's not, look at me moving along. I'm healed, it's gone, I'm just moving forward. We actually go around in circles. You know, the difference is that each time we navigate that circle again, we expand. So our perspective is broader than before. That means we are addressing all of that stuff that, if we looked at it on a timeline, in a linear fashion, is in the past. But we are revisiting those energies, those wounds, those experiences. The universe is constantly stripping another layer off us so we can see ourselves that bit more clearly and release or transmute a bit more of what doesn't serve us or is out of balance. And so I really feel like, you know, there's a powerful message here that's saying, just keep that steady pace. The universe has taught you to take gentle steps. Tread gently, dear heart, like move gently. And you've just got to keep moving in that fashion and not allow that game playing seductive beast in you, you know, to take precedence. You've got to keep leaning into your heart, keep leaning into your truth. And remember, Badger is a nocturnal creature. It lives beneath the ground. Keep leaning into your shadow. I'm just now seeing all the chickens in there as well. Chickens for me are about life, you know, and we see a little heart up here in a wreath in the corner as well. You know, allow your heart to be exposed. Don't allow it to be clouded, you know, by the judgment of your mind, which is what sky represents. Allow your light to shine through. You know, I really feel like if you don't get a handle on this, if you don't keep treading slowly, taking it easy, focusing on your own healing, you could so easily end up back where you started. The Three of Cups in reverse, clarifying this, is also about distancing yourself socially from people that aren't necessarily celebrating you or holding you up in the way you deserve to be. I'm hearing there's a lot of people around you right now that are very triggered and jealous of how you are living your life and the lifestyle that you enjoy. Clearly you're successful at whatever it is you do, but in an attempt to kind of be out and about and just being social, a lot of the people that you are connecting with, I think in part sometimes because you're lonely, are not necessarily good for you. And I'm being reminded to tell you that energy always seeks to balance itself. So it's not like these people are deliberate energy vampires, although some of them definitely aren't trustworthy or have your best interests at heart. But without them even knowing it, because it's just how energy moves, when a high vibe person walks into a space that's low vibrational, full of low vibrational people, the high vibe person gets drained, and you know, the low vibe people get topped up until they're all about the same. So you walk in and you're up here and the energy goes, ooh. And you may notice that you just don't feel your truest self around these people. You know, you're trying to have a good time, but it's all very surface level stuff. And you probably have a distinct sense of discomfort and beat yourself up, like you're being a party pooper or you're being too hard or judgmental. You know, you have to learn to trust your intuition better. But this is about getting a handle on the mind. I definitely feel you're moving into a masculine energy as well, which is why we're seeing that distorted feminine come through. Because I feel like you've done so much work balancing the feminine that you're now looking at things and cycling back through that healing from the masculine perspective. And this is why we're seeing all of these fours come through. You know, 4 is about stabilizing things. So, you know, water needs an earth vessel to stabilize it. It can't be stable on its own. If water isn't contained by something else, it's constantly moving, you know. So I definitely feel like, remember that if feminine energy is this emotional body, this intuitive body, that less tangible energy, then mental and physical energy, which is that which is more comfortable with the masculine, has to be stabilized in order to properly hold and balance the other. I hope that makes sense. You know, what I'm saying is that the work you've done on your feminine aspect needs to be balanced with work on the masculine aspect so it can all be harmonized. And we've got warrior here, be fearless and stand strong. And we've got transform and unveil your gifts with shapeshifter. I'm going to bring these cards closed in case they mean anything significant to you, or for those of you looking for signs. Transform and unveil your gifts, and that lone wolf and the eagle there. I really feel like, again, I know you don't have as many friends that understand the depth of the journey you're navigating, and this is why you kind of lean in to old patterns of socializing, even though it doesn't really kind of hit the spot for you anymore. But you're being asked to just lean out of that for now, you know, to shift out of that, to lean into your gifts. It says here as well, with moon magic, sleep, dreams, rhythms and cycles, you know, you need to start paying more attention to your inner world. Keep a dream journal by your bed, because what we're seeing happen is that you're moving through this, you're coming back into a healing cycle. And remember, what we don't learn, we repeat again. And because you are at such a beautiful point with this relationship energy, there is a serious danger that you could take a step back, you know. So careful who you're listening to for relationship advice as well. You know, you want to be communicating with people that can call out your shadow when they hear it and see it in your behaviors. People that can say, hold on a minute, I'm not sure that that's the most balanced way. What are you really worried about? Why are you hiding yourself? Why are you in this I'm a seductive game playing beast energy? You know, what's really going on here? Someone that can help you have and lean into that clearer perspective. You need someone that's coming at it from sound judgment. And we've got pole shift here, a change of heart, a turnaround, or a reversal. Now, remember, that can work in your favor or it can work against you. It's very similar to that Wheel of Fortune energy. We don't know where it's going to land. Pole shift also refers to that flip from masculine to feminine energy, from yin to yang. So, you know, you've got to get it working to your advantage to keep the energies flowing and growing, unless you want to repeat those lessons again. There's something out of balance in your life, so do whatever you need to do to correct it. Again, I feel this is the battle between heart and mind that you're navigating. Take the time to listen compassionately to those you love, especially your family members. And so gorillas, remember, they are very community-oriented creatures. They live in very big families. I don't know what a gorilla, is it a gorilla pride? I don't know what they call their families, but I do know that they're very social creatures, and they're also very strong, very self-sufficient, very protective of one another. I feel that you have been so invested in your own kind of stuff that maybe you're not seeing that there is someone in your background who's as strong to support you, you know, need you to kind of step up for them right now. And that's not me guilt tripping you or applying any shame. It's just, you know, that's a really clear message. It's asking you to be more conscientious about the people that matter. Not everyone reaches out for help when they need it. Sometimes they kind of conceal it. And so there's just a gentle nod there that just check in. You know, how are you actually doing? And have a look at their situation again from a heart-centered place and see if there's something there that you are missing that was kind of obvious if you'd paid more attention. So, you know, I definitely think you are... Here's the thing. When we're on the precipice of shifting cycles, i.e. all these 9s and 10s, we start back at 0, right? So remember, 10 is 1 and 0. It's the Magician and it's the Fool. Now, the Magician is the one that intends the magic to be made, and the Fool is the infinite potential for that to come into existence, right? So really, 10 is a reset. It's a reset energy. It's the point of completion. It's the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. And when we're on that precipice, we can tip either way. We can tip back or we can tip forward. Now, in real terms, we're just going around in a circle, but are we going along the same path we went before, or are we expanding with a broader perspective and, you know, further away from the challenge of those lessons that we're presenting? This is what you're being asked to take into account. Let's get some more cards. What else is manifesting for you? I think we need to find out more about this relationship as well. So I'm going to set the intention that that becomes clearer. We've got the High Priestess in reverse. We've got the Six of Pentacles. We've got the Tower in reverse. We've got the Two of Swords. And we have got the King of Wands, and we're going to clarify these. So clarifying the High Priestess in reverse. We've got the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Clarifying the Six of Pentacles. We've got the Fool in reverse. Clarifying the Tower. We've got the Nine of Cups in reverse. Clarifying the Two of Swords. We've got the Queen of Pentacles, that's our third Queen. And clarifying the King of Wands, we've got counterparts out, that's Seven of Pentacles, look at that. I knew it would come through. Okay, right, let's get some more oracles. I'm going to go with these. This is the Elke Oracle. Eclat, she who regrets, battle, victory and bitterness. Zenith, she who prepares. And Mora, she who hesitates. And from the Literary Witches Oracle, Zora Neale Hurston, Story. Hedgehog. And Joy Harjo, Bravery. Now, I love how she's kind of buried herself. She's literally growing out of the earth. Okay. This is so interesting. Okay, so here's what we're seeing here. Do you know what? I really pick up on ADHD vibes here, because I recognise this feeling of resistance as something, as someone with ADHD gets myself. I believe we call it, what's the proper name for it? Oh, I swear to God, I've got such serious brain fog at the moment. What's the proper name for it? It's like where we freeze up and we don't do anything. And so, you know, certain tasks can be very overwhelming for someone with ADHD, and there's this weird resistance in us. It could be the simplest task. It could be washing the dishes or doing the laundry, you know, something that's not even that time consuming. But there's something in an ADHD person, this really strong energy of resistance that almost kind of stands in the way of you actually taking that step into doing it. And you've got to bear in mind that you have also been kind of restrained by spirit with these kind of restraints, this straitjacketing energy that has also tried to hold you back. And so even though those energies weren't necessarily they weren't necessarily meant to work in combination with one another, we're kind of seeing a real uncomfortable blurring of that boundary, because I feel like you're not good at sticking to routine and being disciplined about getting things done anyway. The minute something loses its novelty value, you're going to find it really, really hard to kind of keep doing what may have felt easy before, when it was super duper new and interesting to you. And I think this is what we're kind of seeing here. That restraint combined with this kind of ADHD freeze type resistance in you anyway has kind of, I want to say, ground your journey to a halt. And during that time, I want to say you have regressed in terms of your spiritual fitness. So if you think of it in terms, if I didn't go to the gym for 6 months, which by the way, I haven't, so no judgment. But you know, if you had been going every day and then you suddenly stopped going, over the course of just a few short weeks, your muscle fitness, your stamina, you know, your performance metrics are all going to hit that downwards flow, because you're not working at it anymore. You're no longer evolving, you're actually regressing. And if you left it long enough, if you didn't go for months on end, you would notice a dramatic impact on your fitness levels. And so this is kind of what's happened to you spiritually. You were kind of slowed down through that process anyway, and then the novelty value wore off, and that energy combined with all of this kind of, oh, this isn't exciting me anymore, and so, you know, I'm not as determined to lean into it every day, has created this kind of lack of fitness in you. And so what we're seeing here with the High Priestess in reverse is this awkward, uncomfortable energy when it comes to leaning in to the intuitive truth. And this has kind of, again, thwarted your ability to move forward in the way that you're meant to. Now, what's really interesting about this is the Ace is, of course, the 1. So we were talking about 10 and the energies of completion and the 9s that move us up to it. And then 1 is that new beginning. Bearing in mind, we're looking at what's cooking. So that new beginning is currently blocked. Now, we've already had these messages that you need to lean into your intuition. You need to pay attention to, you know, what you're discerning and how everything feels. But we can see here that unless you are really determined, we've got all that moon magic. Remember what it said, rhythms and cycles, you know, paying attention. Remember, maybe working with the moon cycle or your menstrual cycle, if you have one, will really help you keep tabs on that. But definitely this is about getting back into your intuition so that you can unlock that new beginning and actually move through it. Because we can see it's blocked here again with the Fool in reverse. And the 6 of Pentacles is about reciprocity. This is you getting to that point where you say, hold on a minute, you know, I feel like I need to lay down the law in this relationship. Now, listen, I'm not suggesting that relationships shouldn't be reciprocal. Of course they should be. But as your relationship is moving to a more stable point, during those early weeks and months of a new connection, we have to allow ourselves to be a bit flexible and to yield. How much of our time and energy we commit to another person is something that should build over time. You know, in fact, I'd say it's a bit of a red flag for the person that meets you yesterday and next day wants to spend every waking minute with you. You know, that's someone who's codependent and has nothing going on in their life and is also not cautious enough to slow down and wait to see if this is actually a healthy thing for them. Those are the kind of people that find themselves in at the deep end by the time they realise that other person's a bit of a plonker. And like, oh God, I've caught feelings now. Now I've just seen how they talk to a waiter or their mum, or I've just seen them do this or do that and that. You know, by the time we're really attached, it becomes very easy to ignore the toxicity. So rushing into relationships isn't healthy. And even though, of course, we should look at equal reciprocity, how we communicate that and how we judge what is appropriate for the length of the relationship and the position that it's in is very important. It's a very nuanced and subtle energy that has to be felt into with emotional intelligence and balance. And so again, if you're going to go in guns blazing saying, listen, when I text you, you're supposed to text me back within X amount of time, and you know, you haven't made time to see me and I feel like you're neglecting me. If this is very early doors. Remember, people's actions communicate something to us. And so we have to really kind of sit back and question, is that lack of reciprocity deliberate? And if it is, why is it? And you can figure out just by observing in silence so much about what's going on. Are they constantly at work? Or are you actually seeing them socialize lots in other areas of their life? Were those big events that they couldn't miss, such as special birthdays or weddings or work commitments or vacations? You know, do they have any meaningful reasons to be pulling away? Or does it actually seem like they are not choosing to spend as much time with you? If it's the former, then you just need to steady down and recognize that this person needs the freedom, just as we all do, to be able to live up to whatever plans we've already made and enjoy those and celebrate those occasions. Maybe you're wondering why you weren't invited. You know, well, I could have been there and kept them company while they were doing it. So that might be too early in the relationship for some people, or maybe they didn't have the freedom for a +1. So, you know, you have to look at all the pragmatic reasons before you lean back into, well, they're just not that into me. It is possible that they're just not that into you yet, and that they're still getting to know you, and that whilst they're still getting to know you and they're not allowing their heart to run away with them, it's easy to continue prioritizing their other life responsibilities or joys. It doesn't necessarily mean they hate your guts and they don't want to see you at all. So, you know, this is something that I think you need to just observe in silence for now. Pay attention. You're definitely being asked to pay attention. But this relationship, it feels like it's been cooking for a while, but it's about to take that serious turn. It's about to move into 10 of Cups energy. Can you just let it flow there without trying to control it, without rushing in with these demands? Can you look at things more pragmatically? Are your friends stirring the pot by saying, oh, that's really out of order. I can't believe they said that. They shouldn't have done this. What about that? You know, I really think your friends are planting seeds of doubt where there don't need to be any. The Tower in reverse is clarified by the 9 of Cups in reverse. Again, if you don't heed this message of observe in silence and temper the forward momentum, the Tower in reverse and the 9 of Cups in reverse, bearing in mind that that's, you know, we're talking about 9s and 10s as completion. This one is emotional balance, you know, what needs to be closed out so that rebuilding of a new cycle can begin won't be. And then we have indecision around commitment. You know, and again, I feel this is coming from you, having wound yourself up so much by telling yourself stories, listening to stories, not looking at things with balance and clarity like that Queen of Swords asks you to, not being fair and just in your perception is going to create a lot of confusion in this connection, in which you've almost convinced yourself that it's not worth it. There's nothing for you here. You don't really want to do this. This person's just not, you know, giving you what you need. What's really happening here is you don't feel safe because the relationship's about to get serious, and that makes you feel really vulnerable. Because if you open your heart and let love in, you have to run the risk of losing it. And that's the part you're still healing. and you're being asked to trust. You're being asked not to self-sabotage what could be something beautiful by leaning into fear and making decisions from that point. The King of Wands, you know, remember we had the Queen of Wands earlier in reverse. The King of Wands is Leo energy. It's leadership energy. It's bold and calm. And here, look at that snake in the foreground, symbolic of transformation. The fireflies, which illuminate the shadow aspect and help us clear the clouds. The raven that was previously ignored, now directly communicating with the lion's crown, with the lion's intuition, the wand in his hand, no longer ignoring that intuition. And the Seven of Pentacles is going back to the grindstone, recognizing that all good things take time. I think what we've seen overall is this shift from you to kind of try and get back into that rushing energy. It's almost like when a dog pulls on the lead. And I've been training my puppy to walk loose lead, and she'll walk by my heel for a few meters, and then it's like the impulse, the desire to get where we're going that much quicker, it just overwhelms her and she suddenly lunges forward and pulls. And what we do, every time she pulls, we turn back round and walk a few feet in the opposite direction before turning back. You know, what I'm trying to teach her is every time you pull, because you're so excited to get where you want to go, you're actually delaying yourself, because we're going to have to turn around and go back. And it does work, you know, she's getting much better at it. She's wild, but she's getting better. And I feel this is what the universe is trying to tame you with. It's trying to say, listen, you're always a million miles an hour, and that causes you to rush in, make loads of impulsive, unconscious decisions that don't always serve you. You know, they're putting these reins on you, and they're kind of gently loosening its grip, giving you some wriggle room and seeing how you react. And then it's kind of there to grab you and pull you back when it's needed to. And I feel like you've been in that training, but you need to kind of stay in it. You need to observe and recognize the lessons that you've been taught, because commitment is on offer here. And the Queen of Pentacles is a very satisfied energy. It's an energy to be celebrated. The King of Wands is you balancing that masculine ego, and the Seven of Pentacles committing to that work that you need to do on the next cycle of healing. And we've got Spider there, which is all about being industrious and self-sufficient. So, you know, I really think this can work out for you, part 2, but you need to get out of your own way. We've got Story, Hedgehog, and Bravery. I want to come back to how this woman's kind of planting herself, grounding herself. You know, this is what we were talking about with that masculine energy and being in your body. And look at that shadow aspect, free falling, but she's firmly planted, and this is why she's free. You know, be brave, allow yourself to lean into truth, and to give your heart permission to take the risk on love. Hedgehog is about protection, and Story reminds us that every day we are writing that new chapter. Now is the time for you to step into doing that consciously. Eclat, she who regrets, battle, victory, or bitterness. I love that this to me looks like a victory parade. All the skulls beneath her feet. It's got that kind of energy of goddess Kali, Ma Kali, where she's, you know, she wears them around her neck, doesn't she? But you know, the pennants, the flags, they are symbolic of victory. And she's also leaning into the wind, which is the east. It's where the sun rises and the new day dawns. We can see that because of the movement that is illustrated in her clothing. So, you know, you can either move forward, observing all of that shadow and learning from it, or you can just go around in the same circle and tread the same path. The choice is yours. She who prepares, zenith, formulates, strategize, and devise, just like the fox. Observe in silence. Don't do anything rash. Look at how this kind of night energy is perfectly still. The sword is held so carefully, it's driven into the ground. It's not being pulled out in terms of action, right? Take it slowly. And Mora, she who hesitates, ponder, delay, and confidence. Wow, you can make this up. Again, slow it down. Right, let's get some final guidance card and some charms. I'm going to just grab a charm bowl. Okay. Okay, say we've got quite a few here. We have got the yin yang whale. I love that. We've got all the fours, which I think is so interesting because 4 was a significant number in your reading. We've got the moth, also symbol of transformation, slightly bitter. Bitterness has also been referenced, I think, in this card here. We've got why, and that sounds like such a frustrated and angry why. Follow your dreams. We have got believe in yourself, lovely positive energies there. We've got the map. We've got the light bulb lit. And we have got the bag of money. This is these are actually bells. That's Animal Crossing money. And it's kind of made to look like a cookie. It's a bag of bells cookie. And that makes me think, oh, you need a nap and a cookie, you know, when you're stressed, like indulge yourself. Okay, and I'm going to use these ones. This is the Magic Herb Oracle for guidance, and I think some more Ascended Masters cards as well. Creativity, number 14, Ginger. Meditation, number 27, and that's, what does that say? Skull cap. I think I need glasses, you know, my eyes are getting worse. Endurance, number 18, Ginseng. Okay, and from the Ascended Masters deck, Angels and Ancestors deck, not Ascended Masters. Broken Arrow, embrace the energy of peace. So I did a broken arrow ceremony at retreat earlier this year where, you know, to break arrows, you literally like run in to the tip of the arrow and it just breaks against your chest. And it, you know, it's all about releasing. It's a really beautiful ceremony. It was very cool. I even saw a kid do it. So it's not just me being like, you know, super tough. A kid actually did it too. Broke arrows together. And so there's a suggestion towards native, indigenous and ancestral connections there, and that energy of ritual that may be really supportive for you. But I think the overall guidance for you, creativity, meditation, endurance. Endurance came up in the beginning with that 9 of Wands energy. And, you know, remember, I know it's been hard, but look at this. On the clock, it's 9 and just before the energy of 12. So kind of between 11 and 12. 9 is about self. Remember, we're at that end of cycle, the energy of endurance and stamina. And 12 is the point of surrender. It's the embodiment of the masculine feminine, which shifts the perspective. So this is a really significant energy for you. It's reminding you where you can go and what you can do. You need to be creative now about how you reintroduce novelty to your spiritual practice. And I would suggest that you change it up, or even compete or get a buddy that you can work with so that you can keep each other motivated. You know, if it is ADHD, and you're, or even if you know, you might not be diagnosed, but let's say you're the kind of person that finds it difficult to maintain routine around things when the novelty or interest has worn off, then you have to work hard to create that novelty and interest. You know, for example, me and my sister sometimes we'll sit down and do this stuff together so we know it gets done, you know, and that makes it a bit more fun, interesting and bearable for us. So you can share the load, or you can find ways to be creative and make it more interesting. And look at that light bulb that comes up twice for you. You know, creativity comes from your intuition. It comes when you align with your light, when you connect with your inner truth, when you balance that masculine and feminine aspect and have access to all of your power. It's all about the 4s for you this year, pile 2, all about balancing the material world and learning to move through things in a more observational, research-oriented way that allows you to plan and be more conscientious. That's balanced control. That's balanced Emperor energy. Distorted energy will make impulsive decisions based on fear. That's control from the distorted place. We're looking for healthy, balanced, reasoned, heart-centered control, not the distorted version of it. And, you know, that transformation is upon you. You can get bitter and frustrated, or you can let it flow. Because I really think that this why energy is kind of like, for God's sake, why is this happening to me? Why is it so hard? Why can't it be more simple? You know, this is the journey your higher self chose. We may not understand it, but our soul knows something that we don't. And, you know, the map, I always say intuition doesn't give us a map, but I think this is actually pretty clear. And, you know, green represents that earthly aspect of self, and the heart chakra, journey into the heart. Look, the aeroplane is flying over the desert in this image. Journey to the heart, bring your heart in, allow yourself to feel safe in the heart. Masculine energy doesn't feel safe in the heart. It wants to be all in the mind, all in the body. You know, you're being called to balance both so that you can navigate this more smoothly. We've got follow your dreams, believe in yourself. That's so beautiful. I really think it's going to be okay, and you don't actually have anything to worry about. Honor your inner knowing and embrace the energy of peace, which is to let go of control. You're going to be okay, part 2. I'm going to take this extended because I want to know more about this relationship. I want to know more about the relationship in the past, and, you know, the details of how that's manifesting and what else you can be aware of in terms of reining in that impulse to complain, to demand, or to start making unnecessary waves in this relationship just as it's about to get serious. If this has resonated for you and you want to join me over there, you can find the link down below. But thank you for joining me here. I'm sending you all my love. Thank you for hitting the subscribe button and the like button, and for your beautiful comments. Thank you for the time you took to watch my commercials. I appreciate that so much right now. It really is a blessing and a perfect energy exchange, so thank you. Don't forget to check out my website at happysouls1111.com. There's tons of stuff on there if you want to connect with me more deeply. You can find my classes, bookings, and also some wonderful meditations that are new out this month. So hopefully I'll see you over there, but if not, I will see you here next time. Lots of love. Bye. Hello, Pole 3. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Moss Agate and the Eagle and Madame Clara's 5-cent tarot. Today we're asking, what is manifesting for you right now? And the benefit of peeking into the future and seeing what's cooking is that, you know, if it doesn't look desirable to you, you have time to adjust your course. We are co-creators of our own reality. Every decision we make, every step that we take is adding up to bake our tomorrow. And so when we do this reading and we're looking at the trajectory, you know, of what's coming, we have an opportunity to choose something different. And also, you know, it may look really shiny and bright, and we can just get the reassurance and faith that we need. So let's see what's coming through for you, Pile 3. What is manifesting for you right now? We're going to be using the tarot cards. We're going to be using the Oracle deck and the Charm Bowl. All you have to do is just set your intentions that you're ready and willing to receive the messages you need the most. You can also ask the universe for a sign. This is just a way for you to feel seen and heard by spirit, to help you trust, you know, that they're always looking out for you. Pay special attention to the messages that show up alongside your sign. And a sign could be anything at all. It could be an animal, or it could be a object or something from nature. It could be a place or a sequence of numbers, a name, whatever works for you. There is no right or wrong. Just trust whatever pops into your head first. There'll be an extended reading today as well if this resonates for you. So you can always find the link to that down below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so we can be friends. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch my commercials. That really helps my channel grow. And when you hit the like button or leave a comment, it all helps me so much. So thank you for taking the time to invest in that energy exchange. And don't forget to leave a note in the comments of which part you watched today, because YouTube will recommend this reading to you again. And when that happens, you know, you'll know which part you've already watched. It always works in perfect divine timing. I love that. Okay, Pile 3, what is manifesting for you right now? We've given these a good shuffle. Let's do this. First card out. This is the 10 of Pentacles, Bring it up close so you can see it. We've got lots of birds and fish in this card for those of you looking out for signs. The Devil in reverse. The Three of Pentacles in reverse. The Eight of Wands. And the Ten of Swords in reverse. Okay, let's clarify these. The Hermit, clarifying the Ten of Pentacles. Clarifying the Devil in reverse, the Nine of Pentacles. Clarifying the Three of Pentacles in reverse, the Knight of Pentacles. Clarifying the Eight of Wands, the Five of Pentacles in reverse. Clarifying the Ten of Swords in reverse, we've got the Nine of Wands. So lots of nines coming out for you. The Hermit is also a 9. Right, let's get some oracle cards as well. I'm going to start with this deck. This is messages from your animal spirit guides. My dog is sniffing my butt. Stop sniffing my butt. No, Wawa. Oh dear. Falcon. Very similar to eagle. And manatee. One more. Roadrunner. Beep, beep. Okay. Right. Let's use this deck. This is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle by Kyle Gray. I do love this deck. Hope you're liking my autumn vibes and our shooting star, because of course we are talking about manifesting, wishing. Right, Peacekeeper. And Druid. Do you know what? This one has come out in all piles so far. I'm sure it has. And from the Healers of the Earth Oracle. Sound Healing. Seer of Souls. And Divine Feminine. Okay. Right, we'll get more as we go, pile 3, but let's start where we are. So your Eagle card, this says embrace spirit. And I have to say, the way the cards are flowing today, this very much feels like you are moving into a deeper energy of self-awareness. Nines are always about the power of self. They're about going in and assessing what's, you know, in your heart. It's about leaning into your truth and your light. And Eagle is about having that higher perspective, not just the grounded material world perspective of the ego and the mind, but the perspective of the heart and the higher self, that connection to spirit. So I really feel like you are shifting, you know, you're holding space for yourself, you're shifting and creating stability, because the Ten of Pentacles, and look, you can see that there's loads of words on this card. We've got legacy, inheritance. So this is about material stability as well, and that's backed up with that Nine of Pentacles that comes up over here. But what you're being called to do is to balance the two, to balance what's in your material world, what's in your mind with what's in your heart. And so we can see these two energies cooperating with the Hermit. And you can see here, this says soul searching, self-discovery, alone time. Now, interestingly, Ten of Pentacles is actually a very social energy. It's about family and unity and connection. And so it feels like you are just introducing much more balance into your life, being able to harmonize these two aspects of self. You're also letting go of, I want to say, a lot of wounds. You know, the Devil in reverse is detachment from what doesn't serve you. It's about releasing old patterns and, you know, the unhelpful shadow aspects that your ego is raging with. And so when we see it's clarified by the Nine of Pentacles, you know, this is translating as abundance into your real world, self-sufficiency, rewards, you know, and we can actually see that baby falcon there again. So I really feel like, having taken the pressure off, you've been moving through a period of really shadowy healing. You know, you've been working on all those really tough energies. You've been facing your wounds, and we're kind of seeing the shadow now recede into the background. You're releasing all of the obsessions and addictions of the past, probably to a person, and a fixation on, you know, having to have a certain consequence or outcome in your situation in order to feel good. You've let go of that. This feels to me like the energy of surrender, and that peace and acceptance that you're feeling within yourself is translating into your material world and creating all of this balance for you. When the Three of Pentacles is in reverse, however, it does demonstrate some disharmony, and I don't think this is necessarily because you are doing anything wrong. I think this is because now that your heart is engaged and you're finding that balance within you, that you're starting to look at the material world with a much clearer perspective. You're starting to recognize that there are some things that are out of balance, especially with work and the people that you're connecting to or working with, even at a social level. The Knight of Pentacles is about responsibility, patience. It's about being really slow and careful, measuring every interaction and, you know, really reflecting on boundaries and what serves you. This is the energy of observation and research, pardon me, rather than action. So we can see that you are now, you know, now you're seeing things through a clearer lens rather than through the lens of your shadow. You're starting to look at your working and personal relationships. You're starting to analyze what serves you and what doesn't, and really paying attention, you know, to all the decisions you've been making in the past that somehow betrayed you and your needs and your comfort. The Eight of Wands is about movement, fast incoming divine inspiration and drive. We can see that this is illuminating more of that shadow and helping you to release a lot of rejection and abandonment wounds. You're leaning into forgiveness. You're leaning into the energy of being accountable to yourself and your own decisions. This is about letting go of victim consciousness. You know, rather than blaming everyone else for hurting your feelings, it feels like you're kind of noticing through observing these interactions where you have not had a firm enough boundary to be able to protect you from those incidents. And so, you know, you're no longer pointing the finger at other people. You're recovering from the perspective of choosing more wisely what's congruent with your needs and your soul's desires. The Ten of Swords is about regeneration. It's about closing out a really painful cycle. And this is clarified by the Nine of Wands, which is resilience, building in that stamina that's going to help you wrap up whatever burdensome energies have been really kind of rattling you and keeping you back. So these are beautiful energies in terms of what's manifesting. You know, this is showing us that you have really shifted and that you are about to step into a period of your life in which everything is being brought into balance because you're finally seeing it from the perspective of truth. I really feel like in the past you have held on to resentment, to anger, to frustration. And I'm sorry, my dog is tip-tapping around. I've got a puppy and she's a lot, aren't you, Wawa? Yes. So, you know, this is about you finally taking responsibility for yourself, releasing what doesn't serve you. And I'm hearing it's been a long time coming. You've had to work. Oh, okay, dog fell off the chair. You okay? It's, you know, you are finally noticing how you were tripping yourself up, how the wounds of the past have made you codependent. They've made you the peacekeeper, which is never a bad thing unless you are, you know, peacekeeping rather than protecting yourself. And people pleasers do that. You know, they want to avoid conflict. They don't want to be perceived as the villain or the bad guy. So, you know, rather than stand up for themselves, they will just surrender to whatever the other person's needs, desires, or opinions are just to keep the peace. But you are now doing this from a place of real equanimity. You know, you still have retained this power to subdue and calm situations whilst also asserting your rights, your needs, you know, putting your comfort first, holding space for yourself. So this is really, really beautiful what we're seeing here. Falcon says, act on opportunity act on the opportunity that's before you and commit to it without equivocation. And so all this material world abundance and balance and stability that's being created, you know, because you're trusting that divine spark, that inner movement of creativity and inspiration, you are now able to align more smoothly with your divine path. Accept the situation as it is rather than fighting to change it. You know, this is what you're doing. You're recognizing where your power is, what you can change. Previously, you would have invested it in trying to change other people. Well, if only they didn't behave that way. If only they could learn to be more like this. If only that person stopped being a class A arsehole. You know, the onus and emphasis was always on what you needed other people to do, how you needed things to turn out in order that you could feel good. This energy of embracing spirit, of tapping into your higher self, is allowing you to surrender to that divine flow. You're now recognizing that whatever's happening, it's happening for your highest good, even if it's challenging. Roadrunner says, keep your sense of humor and don't take things too seriously. And I really feel that having let go of a lot of this really heavy energy, this detachment that you've managed to lean into, has allowed you now to see everything, you know, with a lighter heart, to be able to chuckle at the people that would have normally triggered you and think, oh, you know, they haven't changed, bless them, rather than, you know, taking it so personally and eating yourself alive with frustration that they can't show up in the way that you want them to. We've got sound healing here, seer of the souls. These are beautiful energies, healing tones, self-expression in music, sensitivity, empathy and understanding. We've got divine feminine energy, not distorted feminine, divine feminine. You know, this is receptivity, it's connecting to intuition, it's looking at life through the perspective of compassionate and full and strong heart. So well done, pile 3. You know, you have worked really hard recently to be able to turn the tides on what has been happening in your life. And you are walking, talking proof that a shift in perspective can shift everything. You know, the world looks so different when we stop perceiving it through that lens of trauma, unfairness, injustice, and instead just recognize it's all happening for me. And so you've undoubtedly been leaning into your spiritual practices. Sound healing has obviously been something significant for you. And you're being encouraged to keep moving with that, to keep studying that. You have a very strong energy of clairaudience, strong skill. You're able to tune in to the very subtle vibrations which may not be apparent to others. I'm hearing that drumming will be particularly powerful for you. So get yourself a shamanic drum. I find that I'm quite clairaudient and I can hear the drum sing. In addition to hearing the drum beat, I can hear the vibration that exists behind it, that is created through the vibration of that element. And, you know, that's really beautiful. It's that frequency that actually heals. And I really feel like you have a unique ability and flair and talent to tune into those subtle energies. And that means you're going to be able to support others to that effect. So I really think that you may be shifting careers and you're now looking at your purpose, your mission, rather than what's going to make your money, rather than what's convenient or reliable. This is about feeling that confidence and creativity, about moving into what feels good versus what you think is right. Feels and think being the differentiating factor there. You know, what feels good is always right. What you think is right is a construct of the mind. It's based on numbers, algorithm, risk, and consequence. But what feels right is just a sensation of certainty. It's the inner compass leaning towards your true path. It's never rational or logical. Sometimes it won't make any sense at all. It's just a feeling that isn't necessarily backed up by numbers, figures, or research. And so you're leaning into and embracing spirit is allowing you to connect more deeply with that inner truth And the consequence of that is that we now see you closing out painful cycles. We see you stepping into the power of self, the power of abundance. And when I say abundance, it's not just material abundance. It's abundance in wealth, health, love, all the good stuff. You know, you are moving into a much calmer period of your life, and you're closing out what has been a very painful cycle and finally stepping into your power. So congratulations. This is absolutely beautiful. What else is manifesting for you, pile 3? Okay, we've got the 6 of Wands in reverse. We've got the Emperor in reverse. We've got the 3 of Cups in reverse. And we've got the 3 of Swords in reverse. And we've got the 8 of Cups in reverse. Right, let's clarify these. So clarifying the 6 of Wands in reverse. Ooh. Right, that's the Queen of Wands in reverse. Clarifying the Emperor in reverse. We've got the Knight of Swords in reverse. Don't worry about the reversals. They're not always a negative thing. For one, it shows us where blocks are. Clarifying the 3 of Cups in reverse, we've got the 3 of Wands. So lots of 3s for you as well. Clarifying the 3 of Swords in reverse, we've got, okay, so this is a bonus card in the deck. It's called the Beyond or the Soul. It's number 22. And clarifying 8 of Cups in reverse, we've got the 6 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so this is perhaps where you need to be aware of some additional changes or shifts in perspectives that need to occur, because the 6 of Wands in reverse is ego and arrogance. It's a fixation on winning or doing really, really well. It's clarified by the Queen of Wands in reverse, who, when she comes up in that reverse position, I mean, in the upright position, she's the Queen of Spirit. But when she is in the reverse position, it's the ill-dignified version of that. It's the person that uses spirit to reinforce their ego. You know, it's helping them feel special or different or better than. It's the superiority complex in us of, you know, oh, look at all these unawakened people. Look at all these people who aren't ascending like me. You know, I'm doing so great. I'm up there with the winners. It's the kind of energy that actually pulls you back into that shadow aspect. Now, I want to make this okay for you because I think this is actually very common for ascending souls. It's such a relief to find yourself on the other side of all that pain that when you embrace spirit, your ego is going to really clutch onto that and embrace that feeling of ego strength. You know, that reassuring, yes, I am great after all. Look how victorious I am. So, you know, you've got to forgive yourself and give yourself permission to be operating from that perspective, because you're still learning. You're still learning to tame the ego. You're still learning to bring it into balance. And anyone would be forgiven for giving themselves a firm, sturdy pat on the back for having done so well. So it's natural to swing from one extreme to the other. In most cases, it's that palpable energy of relief. But this is why distorted masculine energy is coming up. When the Emperor is in reverse, and we can see here it's the energy of control. This is the distorted leader. This is the leader that, you know, asserts his dominance, and not always in the fairest ways. And so to be able to balance that feminine aspect with the distorted masculine aspect, which, you know, leans into the mind, you've got to keep focusing on your aims, because at the moment with the Knight of Swords in reverse, your energy is unpredictable. You're learning to lean into truth, but it's not always stable. And with the 3 of Cups in reverse, you know, you can sometimes be too independent, too alone. You may have withdrawn quite dramatically from some friendships and perhaps judging some of them too harshly. It's a delicate energy to balance. It's a fine line. The subtle bit in the middle, it's so nuanced. And, you know, the 3 of Wands is about foresight. It's about fulfillment. And so we can see that in some respects, the actions you're taking, the steps you're taking are the right ones, but it's the thought process that sometimes lingers behind it that helps your ego remain strong and, you know, trying to balance itself, that is maybe going to trip you up. So, you know, there's a message here about staying humble. you know, leaning into humility and dignity, remembering where you've come from. You know, you were on your arse in bits not that long ago, and we have to maintain compassion for those that are still struggling with those energies. Our ego will often say to us, well, you know, if I can do it, why can't they do it? It's so easy to judge others that are struggling with energies that we feel that we have surpassed. But, you know, you mustn't, this really reveals that wound within you that still beats you up because you guilt trip and shame yourself all the way here. You know, it's taken you so long to get here, and you've given yourself such a hard time through that. You're not necessarily recognizing how that voice, that inner voice, that distorted ego still rattles and is being expressed and projected outwardly onto others. And so, you know, the Three of Swords in reverse is about forgiveness. It's about moving on. We can see here it's emphasized as optimism, you know, healing that broken heart. But it's also clarified by apathy. And that's a really interesting energy, because sometimes when we've been something that's so extreme at an emotional level, the heart shuts down just to protect us from the instability of it all. And I feel like you're coming out of that now. You know, you're moving in to this energy of forgiveness, but with all of these threes and these fours, which are about balancing the masculine and feminine aspect within, we're still seeing some wobbliness here that could trip you up unless you're careful. And this one is so important, the Eight of Cups in reverse. Now, we had detachment earlier. Remember, now you're focused on control. And so what tends to happen is when you shift into a state of acceptance and surrender, you suddenly get really scared about slipping back to where you were. The ability to balance and regulate ourselves emotionally and mindfully can actually be a really scary ego trap. And I really relate to this. I remember being in this energy. I got so good at balancing my emotional body and, you know, lifting myself out of the grief and the trauma, that I wanted to stay in that neutral place of peace. And so I exerted that control I had to just drift there in the middle, feeling good. And who wouldn't? It's incredibly cathartic after all the trauma, all the upheaval, to just be in this energy of, oh, look at me, I feel so good. However, what happens is we do this now at the expense of avoiding the shadow. We're like, yeah, I've got myself out of that shadow. I am never going back there. I don't want to do that again. You know, we convince ourselves we've got to stay positive. Let's not lean into the dark. The dark sucks. I've been there. It's so hard. Woo, let's stay in the light. Let's stay balanced. Now, again, this is completely natural. What we forget is that true power is the embodiment of it all. The ability to navigate through all of those energies, to see them clearly, and to still return ourselves to center. But you're kind of falling into the same trap I did, which is like, I've come out of the dark. It feels great here in the middle. I can lean into the light. Let's ignore that bit now. I'm done with that bit. I've done my healing. The trauma's gone. I feel great. And so what we're actually doing is swinging from that power of self into self-avoidance. You know, now that I've learned how to stand in the light, I'm going to stay here. It's such a typical energy, swinging from one extreme to the other. So you've got to remember not to get too ahead of yourself. Don't be too cocky. Tame the arrogance. You must remember that you are still made of light and dark. You've simply mastered the ability to balance your energy. But when you do that, you shouldn't be just pinning yourself there in the middle. True power is the ability to embody and accept it all. How you judge others right now is indicative of how you still judge yourself. It's showing you where there is healing still to be done. And we can see here with the Six of Pentacles in reverse that there is still an unpaid debt. You know, that there is still something you need to be paying attention to. And look at that. The key word here is self-care. You know, looking after yourself, honoring that shadow aspect within you, and recognizing that it still needs to be attended to. It never really goes away. You know, we heal and we feel better again, but all we've done is healed the layer that was peeled back. You know, there's a reason that the lotus flower is a symbol of awakening, because it peels back its petals really slowly, and each time it does that, the shadows that were inside are illuminated and released, but there's always a little bit more blooming to do. Those layers are going to peel back some more and reveal even more shadow. And also the lotus flower, every night when darkness comes, the lotus flower sinks back into the water, back into the mud, and is immersed once more in the totality of that darkness, only to emerge again the next day, reborn, beautiful, crystal clear and glowing. And so that journey that the lotus flower takes is symbolic of the spiritual path. That you, over the course of that 24-hour cycle, you are always expanding into both energies, light and dark, peeling back the layers, being illuminated each more. But the reality is that unless you're rising up from the dark to bloom again, you begin to stagnate. A lotus flower that didn't sink back into the mud every night would wither and die, because it's not getting that vital sustenance it needs, and everything grows in the dark. You know, if you planted a seed tomorrow deep into the earth, if you kept digging it up every day, it's not going to grow. It needs to be in the dark. It needs to be in the deep dark womb of Mother Earth in order to burst forward again with its fullest potential. And if you kept digging up the roots, you're going to disturb that growth. You know, you have to allow the two to exist in balance. If you kept chopping off the roots because you didn't want that part of you to be in the dark, the flower would die back. And so, you know, this is about accepting both parts of yourself. It's about recognizing that now you've embraced spirit, you need to keep leaning into the totality of all of your energy. It's a common mistake. I did this. I know a ton of people on this journey, this spiritual path, that did the same. That they wake up, you know, they lean into the light, they heal, they start feeling amazing, and that control and ability to stabilize and regulate self is abused because they don't want to be in the dark anymore. They want that to be in the past. They want to feel like victors. And so you are being cautioned that unless you hold your ego to account, unless you keep pulling yourself back and allowing yourself to honor your true feelings, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you're going to slip back to where you were. Okay, so all of this work that you've done, you need to keep it moving. Another thing a lot of spiritual people do, I also did the same, is that when you're in that high and happy place, it's almost impossible to imagine that you could ever be in the dark again. And you feel so good, so fit and so strong that you stop doing all the things that got you there. You know, it's like the fit person that slowly eases off the gym and then notices ever so slightly that day on day their fitness is regressing, their flexibility is reducing, their stamina isn't where it was. You know, well, I'm fit now, I look good, look at me, my body's so fit and lean and toned. I don't need to be in the gym every day, I can drop down to 3 times a week. You know, you're going to see changes. So you have to keep the momentum going. You've got to keep moving with this healing energy. You've got to acknowledge that there is still a shadow aspect. I want to see what's manifesting for you in real terms, like literal terms, tangible terms. The Page of Cups, that's beautiful. That's a lovely energy. The Lovers in reverse. The Two of Cups in reverse, and the Page of Swords in reverse. And then we've got the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Okay, so this is undoubtedly about relationships. What's clarifying the Page of Cups, please? The Ace of Swords in reverse. The Lovers in reverse is clarified by the Seven of Wands in reverse. I did super shuffle these cards. You know, remember that the reversals show us where the blockages are, and it's not a negative thing. Two of Cups in reverse is clarified by the Seven of Pentacles. The Page of Swords in reverse is clarified by the Messenger. So this is 25. This is also a bonus card in this deck. And the Wheel of Fortune in reverse is clarified by the Four of Swords. Okay, let's get some more oracle cards as well. I'm going to use this deck. This is the Elke Oracle. We've got she who is present, Taraz. We've got she who brings light, Blanche. And from the Magical Herb Oracle, we've got reflection, number 33, Lemon Balm. Courage, number 13, Motherwort. And from, what should we get next? Let's do this one. This is the Literary Witches Oracle. Jamaica Kincaid, History. Shirley Jackson, Family. And Sandra Cisneros, The Body. Okay, I'm kind of seeing what's happening here. So you might be a twin flame or ascending and healing and nurturing your awakening because you are experiencing a soul connection. Now, when that happens, the Page of Cups, you know, this is that naive, innocent, idealistic, romantic stream of consciousness that just, you know, it idealizes all potential relationships. Now, you won't be the first person that has, you know, thrown themselves onto the healing path head first because they want to reignite the connection between them and their soul partner. It's a common misconception, one I used to believe myself, that if you heal, union is just going to happen. It's just a magical boom, look, I'm healed, my counterpart is coming back, everything's going to be okay. In reality, your counterpart has to balance their energies as well. Relationships require two people to assert their free will to make the appropriate choices that allow that relationship to flourish. And so you may have been kind of strolling into this, assuming that your healing was going to magnetize your person back to you and everything would be okay. But what you're actually going to find is that we've got disharmony twice here. Both the Lovers in reverse and the Two of Cups in reverse show us that whilst a relationship may indeed be possible, that there is still disharmony there because both energies have to be balanced. What tends to happen when you ascend is that you arrive at this point of surrender, you're feeling great, you're feeling so in love with yourself, everything's good again, and then you look at your counterpart and the rose-tinted glasses come off and you think, oh God, they haven't changed at all. They haven't ascended. They are still manipulative and unpredictable and careless. And, you know, they're not showing up with the same high vibrational energy that I am. And so that can be really hard. You know, it's confusion here. Confusion, chaos, hostility, disappointment. It's kind of that realization of, oh, I've done all this work and, you know, now they're still just, you know, the shadow version of themselves and not ready for a healthy relationship. I feel conned. I feel tricked. You know, I remember that energy so well. But in reality, you know, this is beautiful because look, what's coming up here is self-love, separation. You know, separation born of self-love. This is you saying, this isn't enough for me. Actually, now that I'm feeling good, now my heart is full, now I'm taking such great care of myself, this relationship that just tosses breadcrumbs at me suddenly doesn't feel so desirable. It suddenly doesn't feel so fulfilling. So, you know, you may well find that your person shows up again. Of course they will. Your energy is glowing, it's bright. You know, you are so vibrant, but you're not necessarily going to be impressed with how it works. In fact, what we see is that distorted inner masculine rising up, feeling exhausted, trying to take control, feeling frustrated. And you now recognizing how vulnerable you would be in a relationship with someone that still hasn't mastered their own shadow and that still projects it at others, that brings that toxicity into their relationships, you know. But you will persevere. The Seven of Pentacles is about recognizing it's a long game. The Seven of Pentacles is about planting the seeds today to reap the benefits of the fruit way much further down the line. And so, you know, you mustn't allow yourself to be too disappointed. This is a critical stage in soul connections and journeys, because what can happen is, as I described earlier, the divine feminine masters the energy, heals the energy, finds that comfortable place, and from there finds it so easy to detach, to run. And so the feminine in this case often ends up leaning into that controlling, egoic, distorted masculine energy themselves, in which they are further away from their emotional body and find it really easy to run in the opposite direction of their twin. You are being challenged to stand still, to stay the course. Doesn't mean you have to be in a relationship with this person. It doesn't even mean that you have to communicate with them. But you do need to allow that love to continue flowing. This is what unconditional love is. You know, can you see someone's energy, warts and all, and still love them? That's what unconditional love is. It doesn't mean you have to compromise your needs by throwing yourself into a relationship with them. You know, you can love someone safely from a distance and still hold that space in your heart from them. Your person's quite manipulative, they're deceptive, you know, they're all talk. I feel like they are not ready to have a healthy relationship, and your spirit guides are definitely trying to protect you. You know, keep embracing spirit, keep trusting their guidance. Don't allow yourself to lean back into the mind, which is going to be much more natural for you. Whilst you know, when you balance feminine energy, you then start working on the masculine, and that's where the ego creeps back in. That's where that desire to control yourself creeps back in. The need to control the environment has been transferred into this need to control self. And we can see with the Wheel of Fortune in reverse that this is just going to create some upheaval for you. It's going to move you away from the intended path of peace and healing. The Four of Swords is about meditation, recuperation, balancing all aspects of self, including the masculine. And so, you know, we do see things shifting in an uncomfortable way between you and this person. We see you rejecting them. We see you becoming frustrated, disgruntled, and even looking at them through that lens of disgust, through that lens of, oh, I can't believe I was so attracted to you. You know, that's conditional love. Pay attention. You know, you may have balanced some of the feminine aspect, but that means that your masculine aspect is now leaning in strong, and it's very seductive to be disassociated from your emotional body because it allows you not to feel so much. We've got history, family, and the body indicated here. And this is so interesting because masculine energy and the healing we're doing on that aspect is all about the body and our material world. And we see that coming through with these adjustments you're making in your career and the boundaries you're creating with the people around you, you know, but you need to lean in to what else needs to be healed. Can we really say we love ourselves while simultaneously neglecting our bodies? I don't think so. And the frustrating thing is that healing the masculine aspect does feel so much slower. You know, getting the body fit takes months. You know, we can go to a few healing sessions and feel euphoric afterwards, but it's going to be a while before the body feels great about the work you're putting it through. And so you've got to be able to stay the course. Again, persevering, allowing yourself to move at that slower pace. Working with the dense 3D energy is nowhere near as exciting as working with the spiritual energy, but you're now being asked to merge the two together. We've got reflection with lemon balm and courage. You know, this is about being bold enough to still see where you need to heal. I know it's tempting to feel like I've arrived. This is it. Look at me. I'm doing so great. I've arrived. But the truth is we've never really arrived. And, you know, I forgive you for thinking that. You must too, because I was in that same energy. I genuinely have navigated such a similar trajectory to what I'm describing here for you. And, you know, I was in it for a long time. You don't have to be. You know, you're getting the heads up. It really took me off track. After being in that light, being in that beautiful energy, I learned to balance myself and I started avoiding the dark, avoiding my emotional body as a consequence, and that pushed me so far into my ego that I lost sight of who I really was and my true path. this is what you're heading towards unless you grab the reins now, and that's inner reins. It's about allowing yourself to flex with your emotional body, to honor the bad days, because it's natural for them to come. Life isn't meant to be a golden gilded path that's smooth and easy all the time. We're going to face challenges. We're going to feel rotten sometime. That doesn't mean you're failing at ascension. It doesn't mean you're failing at loving yourself. It just means that life is like that. It's up and down and all the way around, and we're meant to flow with it and accept it. That's the goal. She who is present now, awareness and acceptance. It's about being present with all of yourself. And Blanche, light, serenity, and that beacon, you know, now that you've mastered that light, you've got to remember to keep shining it, to balance yourself in it every day. And we can only do that when we're taming the shadow aspect, which pushes us out of alignment. When we start ignoring the shadow aspect, ignoring those difficult emotions, we fall further and further away from our truth. There's undoubtedly some family history here that needs to be tended to. I feel like you've been working through your social group, through your acquaintances, work colleagues, the people you know and love, and kind of sifting out all the shady stuff that just doesn't serve you. But, you know, now is the time to focus on the power that you have to transform. There's already such a huge progress here. You know, you have turned such a big corner, pile 3. You should be very proud of yourself. But now it's time to stay the course. So let's get some final guidance cards for you. And we're going to get some charms as well. I want to take this over to the extended and dig deeper into this relationship energy. I want to find out more about what you're so disgusted about there, and what's going to come through that may rankle you. And we're going to look more, I think, at the issues with that family history and the body that need to be resolved, see what's manifesting, and highlight which steps you need to take to adjust sails. Because at the moment you are moving through this beautiful period of peace and balance, and then slipping into ego. And we don't want that. Okay, let's get the guidance. 5 of Cups in reverse. The Chariot in reverse. So many blockages. Strength. That's a good one to come upright. And the Knight of Wands. Very common theme as well. That's so interesting that we're seeing such a common theme across the piles. All different circumstances and experiences that have come up, but very similar kind of root energy messages. We've got Cat. This is the Literary Witches Oracle. We've got Lion, so more Lion with the Strength card, although it's a seal in this card. And Virginia Woolf at Vision. Just move those up so we've got room for them all. And let's get some charms from the charm bowl. Okay. Let's see what's come through here. So we have got IPHM. I'll explain what that one is in a minute. We've got Magic is Real. We've got 222. We've got Slightly Bitter, the lemon. We've got the swans. We've got the little Rolodex thingamajig. We have got Queen, Freddie Mercury. He's come out so much in my recent readings. I mean, there must be a couple of hundred in there. It's so interesting. Okay, I think this is Madonna. I love this one. Attitude, right? That arrogance. Keep going, keep growing. Okay. So, 5 of Cups in reverse and Cat. So this is about moving past grief. It's reminding you to keep processing regret, to remember that there's always a residue of old wounds. You know, we're not healing in a linear fashion. We're kind of going around in circles, but spiraling and expanding with each turn of the wheel. Remember that if we don't deliberately expand and face those shadow aspects as they arise, we keep going around simply in a circle and we're not growing. So this is why always observing the shadow body is so important. And the cat, of course, is about leaning into your intuition, allowing yourself to notice and pay attention to the subtle signs that give rise to truth. The Chariot is about being off course with the divine path. This is what I was saying about, oh, I feel so good now, I don't need to go to the gym as much. You know, the spiritual practice and your discipline around that is what has got you here. Now is the time to keep that energy moving. Indeed, it's described as self-discipline in this card. And it's clarified by Lion, which is about taming the inner beast. You know, if you look at the traditional Strength card, it's always about the woman prizing open the mouth of the lion or the inner beast surrendering in the presence of her divinity, her purity and her strength of heart. Remember, this is what you are working towards. Stay the course. And we've got strength here. Here it's highlighted as influence, control and compassion. We've got the seal there. And the infinity number 8 is a snake. And we can see that that seal is playful. It's light-hearted. Actually, I'm just looking at it. It's on the back of an armadillo. You know, standing on that stable, protective grounding and having that control to remain light-hearted and playful, to stay in your heart, to not be bogged down with the seriousness of that energy. And we've got the Knight of Wands, which is about adventure, action, energy and passion. It's that fast-moving Aries energy that is divinely inspired to create a life that feels good. Remember what we spoke about. Feeling is the truth. Thinking is where things get messed up. As you lean into masculine energy, you want to be tempted to pay attention to what you're thinking versus what you're feeling. You've worked so hard to get in the fields. 2222 is High Priestess energy. It's cat energy. It's about remembering your connection to the intuitive self. Virginia Woolf reminds you to hang on to your vision and to remember that this is the giving hand as well. She's got like this little pot of ink out of which all of these flowers bloom. She's got a dog there, which is symbolic of loyalty. This is about remembering to use your light for the benefit of others too. And we can see that. Keep going and keep growing, keep blooming, stay in your heart. Now, IPHM is an organization. You can see here that it says at the bottom, accredited member. So I received this pin because I submitted all of my qualifications and certificates to them so that I could be verified and listed as a professional holistic practitioner. So they're almost like a governing body that helps people find practitioners that have been verified, that have been checked out, made sure that their qualifications are real. And so for me, this is about you obtaining certification in your areas of skill, about making it professional, again, about light work, about sharing that light with others. The magic is real. Keep leaning into it. This is a suggestion as well that magical ritual may be really beneficial for you. You're still slightly bitter. Again, pay attention to the shadow aspect. This is an eternal bond with your person. Just because they're not ready for you right now doesn't mean that connection's going to disappear. It's okay to have that period of separation. It's okay to choose yourself for now, but do it with love in your heart. The Rolodex. Now, we need to look at the numbers that are carved out here. We can't see numbers 1 through 3. That's the Magician, High Priestess, and Empress. These are the energies you're working with. The Magician is about manifesting. The High Priestess is about using our intuition to drive that creative force. And the Empress is the embodiment of that, the divine feminine creator who gives birth to life. You're being reminded to stay in that flow and keep the steps. Don't miss out step number 2, which is the emotional body and how it connects to your intuition. Yes, Queen, Freddie Mercury, you are the champion. It's okay to embrace that and celebrate that, but don't get caught up in the ego of it. Like Madonna, He's just like, nah, you know, sticking her tongue out. She's got that forward-facing V sign, which is a bit of an FU. You know, this is a real, look at me, I'm better than you. She's got her sunglasses on, which conceals the truth of who she is and makes her look cool or badass. You know, you can't be allowing yourself to get caught up in the victory that your ego is celebrating. You know, now is the time to be humble, to be dignified, to rein it in, to continue embracing spirit and paying attention to that higher perspective. You have got this, pile 3. You've come so far. Let's keep the magic moving. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for being here today. I'm going to take this over to the extended now. If this resonated for you, you can find the link to that down below. But thank you for being here. Thank you for your likes and for your comments, for subscribing. Don't forget to check out my website at Happy Souls 1111. You can book services there with me, including private readings, healing, spirit release therapy, and some cool classes. And there's some wonderful meditations being announced this week. So keep an eye on that as well. I will see you next time. Sending you lots of love. Bye.